Hello, sound check, sound check. Sound check's actually necessary today because we're using a new mic. All right, there we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Roll Out of Bed. I am your host and game master, Nev. Your co-host and player, Ian, is once again running a little behind today due to the American public transportation system. So I'm going to get through the intro, and then we'll see how much we have to stall from there. Hopefully you're okay hanging out with me here, holding out just a bit. So, as any of you regular listeners know, we are playing the campaign Brave New World. We are using the system GURPS, Generic Universal Role-Playing System. It's the system I'm most familiar with and most comfortable with. I've been using GURPS for the last 10 years. Ian has been using it for maybe 3 years now. For those of you who don't know how GURPS works, if you're not a regular listener, if you're just joining us, GURPS uses a 3D system that is 3d6, and you can check out the character sheet in the description to see that how skills work, how the numbers, skill levels, and things like that. And what you want to do is you want to roll under the number. So the higher number you have, the better, the easier it is to roll under, the better the skill you have. What am I forgetting? Wow, are we just getting faster and faster the intro, or am I forgetting something? I think that's actually it, isn't it? Apologize for all the throat clearing. It's early in the morning. Anyway, usually I have talked to Ian quite a bit before this, but he's later than usual, which happens, as we all understand. Life works like that. Apologies for no episode last week. Ian has been starting a new job, kind of, and his hours haven't been entirely set yet. We thought his hours would be set enough by Friday for him to know whether we needed to reschedule or not. It looked like we were going to have it Friday, and then last minute it turned out he got called into work anyway. So we just had to shift that around a little bit. For the future, we should know his hours, so we should, even if he's called into work, be able to do the podcast on Friday, whether it's earlier or later than our regularly scheduled time. And we will keep you informed on that through social media and through the discussion tab on the YouTube channel, like I said, since apparently you can only send notifications to subscribers if you have like over 1,000, which, we hope someday, but not currently. You could help us get there by recommending us to your friends and subscribing, if you're not already. Little plug there. And as always, you can also subscribe to our Stitcher if you're using listening to the podcast away from home on a device or something you want to have closed, like while you're driving or whatever. And if you're a Stitcher only listener, even if you don't plan on listening on the YouTube, we'd appreciate if you could just come and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Even if you only listen on Stitcher, just so that we can grow our audience size and help grow our channel, because we'll get more features as we steadily gain more subscribers. Okay, so I guess I'll just start with a summary of the whole series so far, and we'll see how far into it we get before Ian arrives, and then I'll just speed through the rest of it, and we'll get started. Okay, so Brave New World. We started off with Benjamin Newman, which is Ian's character. Benjamin Newman being contacted by one of the Sakamura's galactically powerful family, both politically and physically. He was contacted by Kravitz Sakamura, who said that he had a job for him, and Benjamin Newman accepted because he wasn't going to receive the details until after he accepted the job. Kravitz then went on to explain that there was a secret, more or less secret, Sakamura sibling, which was Joe Sakamura, who seemingly had no powers and had become a drug addict and was kept more or less secret by the family. Family. After which he was assigned a sector to search for him, and that his task was to either find what happened to him or to bring him back alive to the family. He went and investigated the sector and found a large portion of space with just a bunch of trashed or unpowered ships. He found Sakamura's vessel, which was the Brave New World, and upon entering it was met with a variety of more or less eldritch-type horrors. Once he reached the center of the ship running from these creatures, he found a machine which, much to his chagrin, activated and sent him somewhere else. Upon awakening, because the machine's activation made him go unconscious, everything seemed the same until he got back outside the ship, where he noticed space had gone from a just empty vacuum of blackness and the void to a kind of purple-violet tinted fog that just seemed to encompass all of the empty space. Shortly thereafter, he met with Joe Sakamura as he was rescued due to his escape pod failing. where they had a brief encounter upon which Newman touched a odd crystalline structure, which he probably should not have, and gained a sigil on one of his hands, which later on was most unsacrimoniously removed by Joe Sakamura. The arm, not the sigil. After which Joe went to take care of before Joe could finish him off, Joe went to take care of an emergency which arose on the ship, which prompted Benjamin Newman to attempt to flee, meeting Krat Katenkin and Marimba, who helped him escape the vessel and flew off to another world. Upon arriving in the world, after some brief confrontations, Newman met with Eddie Sakamura, not the same Eddie Sakamura from Universe A. It was discovered later on, which at this point, if you're listening, you've discovered. And if you listened to just this one, I apologize for the spoilers, but you probably shouldn't listen to them out of sequence. He discovered from not the same one from Universe A. After briefly describing what happened with Joe Sakamura, Eddie took him to a facility in kind of an Arctic area on the planet, to a padded cell for questioning. And later on, after he began the questioning, the sigil on Newman's arm, which was no longer present, activated and resulted in a combat sequence which he really didn't want and had no mental control over. This led to the summoning of Jack Hero, Jack Shin Hero, Jack Hero, who helped fend off Newman until he could regain control of his body, which ended in a crack in the ice which Newman fell through before going unconscious. When Newman awoke, he had vague memories about the events that befell the planet. He didn't remember much, except he had a bad feeling about it, and he remembered a large cloud hovering over the planet, much like the cloud that had chased him on the Brave New World. There was some brief interactions with Jack and Eddie before they told him that they had another assignment for him, that they needed to beam him down to a planet, and that they would be beaming down shortly thereafter. Upon beaming down to the planet, he did not meet with them shortly thereafter, but instead discovered and explored a large type of temple, ruins of sorts that seemed fairly ancient in this world that was encased by a metallic sphere with roots going out in all directions within a subspace bubble. As he reached further into the temple, he discovered yet another type of crystalline structure, as well as a mycelic type thing, which he, upon ingesting, gained another sigil after a short flashback to an event that he didn't experience. Another sigil on his other arm. As he progressed throughout this cave, he began noticing a strange figure who was leaving things for him, leaving marks for him, seemingly beneficially. As he finally reached towards the end of the cavern, which he fell into after he progressed through the temple, he was met both with Joe Sakamura, an unnamed woman, and Jack and Eddie Sakamura, who both argued for his assistance in what seems like more or less a war between the bequeathed and the inheritors. I think I said one of those wrong. I don't have my notes open in front of me. That should be right. Yes. But upon being demanded that he choose a side, Newman chose a seemingly unpresent third side, which was that of the mediators, which he barely saw due to a critically succeeded perception roll of the third statue in the large chamber. Upon running to that, he heard a gunfight, a shootout occur behind him, which he barely avoided as the people attacked each other more than while they were trying to get to him. And upon getting inside of the chamber, inside the statue, was met with a future version of himself, who told him that he's got a long future ahead of you. He is helping you do your best. After which he was transported back to his ship, seemingly before any of the events of the Brave New World occurred, with no memory of the incident, no data log of that date, and a new strange journal being found with him, a leather-bound journal of sorts, with simply a coordinate on the first page. Traveling to that coordinate, he met with Catherine Jenkins, an engineer, after a brief stint encounter with Eddie Sakamura of Universe A, which resulted in his death, which is not uncommon for the Sakamuras, which would be universally common knowledge. They have either a cloning facility or they have some type of psionic ability, which allows them to come back from death seemingly a limitless amount of times, unless they are killed by the effects of aging. Which would be common knowledge. After escaping Eddie Sakamura, who in Universe A apparently is not keen on the helping of Benjamin Newman, he went to a small moon where he was explained the events. Everyone seemingly knows him in this universe, which he is very confused about. We probably get the truth at this point, but oh Newman, oh Ian. After which he was in a healing pod, not a Bacta tank. This isn't Star Wars. I don't know enough about Star Wars to even say that. He was in a healing pod. I don't remember what I've been calling it. To heal. Upon which he had another encounter. Oh yes, sorry. He's been encountering this strange white room with two different sides, more or less a mirror. That's a little bit too in-depth for me to explain in a summary, but you'll know what I mean if you've listened, and you should go back and listen if you haven't. Upon healing in the tank, he was once again met with that room, and for the first time he encountered another figure who introduced himself as Vashim, or a simple traveler, or the Arsenal of Alexandria, or the technological source, which is what Newman has been searching for, if this man is to be believed. The man explained his role as Newman's new role as a mediator, should he choose to accept it. He said he didn't make him sound like a choice, but he could assumably reject it if he chose. And he saw the last figures he saw, he realized were the previous mediators, and there were 5 different weapons laid out before him, which Vashim explained were the memories he could inhabit of past mediators. He chose one of them and embarked on a mission to seemingly 8 years in the future to a planet called Kachanya, to turn the tide of a war, which seemingly was going not as the timeline expected it to, according to Vashim. Things were going out of place to how they were meant to go, which is an odd thing Newman didn't seem to question about the future, which is not set yet, but we'll see. Upon completion of his mission, he returned to where he had left in the healing chamber, and was met with Katherine Jenkins once again, who had finished the new the cybernetic arm, which was to replace Newman's own right arm, which had been removed from the Joe Sakamura incident. He also had it outfitted with a modification that he asked Vashim about previously, which was a quantum communicator, which would allow instantaneous communication across any distance of space, as well as communication across time should it occur, but it has to be linked to one or more other communicators directly. But yes, that should come in handy with him unless he crit fails and breaks another communicator like he has before. Crit failure wouldn't break that thing, it's sturdy, but it would have some nasty repercussions. But yes, after all of this had occurred, he transported once again in a transporter, who Katherine Jenkins promised would once again be directly behind him. We'll see if she tells the truth. And he arrived on the bridge of a ship. He saw out the window a roughly kilometer-long ship, not in the best of repair, functioning, but not in a great state of repair. He saw on the outside the printing, the Thunder Child, which was the name of the vessel. And as he heard a voice behind him, he turned to recognize Vashim was there waiting for him on the bridge of the vessel, who said they had much to discuss and that he would introduce him to the rest of the crew and tour him around the ship. And that is where we left off last time. That was a pretty succinct, pretty reasonable summary, actually. It only took me about 10 minutes. I'm pleasantly surprised by that. I do have to say, I did expect that Ian would be here by now. It's not a huge problem. If we have anybody in the chat who wants to ask questions, we could always do that. That's the only other upside of being on, for you Stitcher listeners, only other upside of being on YouTube as opposed to Stitcher. Listening to the live streams does allow you to contribute in the chat if that has any interest to you. If not, obviously, whatever. We appreciate the listening either way. So thank you for your patronage. Not literally, of course. We don't have a Patreon or accept donations. If people would want that, let us know, but we're not expecting that by any means. This is just for fun. We're not expecting to make this a living. Although we would still love to get a more professional thing out of it and a larger listening base. But, things are how they are. I'm thinking what else, if I'm missing anything here. Yeah, I guess updates to the channel we're thinking about. So, streams might go up in quality as the year progresses. Summer's been going on for a while, and I haven't had a lot of time because of, various things. Life happens. I'm sure most people don't have a lot of time. Everyone works and things like that. We're going to try to increase at least I am going to try to increase the stream quality, which includes probably eventually a better and more professional logo. Let's see. Oh, the look of the universe. Let's see. What movies would look closest to what you're imagining? I am thinking. Oh, I do have a very specific image in my head here. Let me think about what I can think of. I do usually depict a more imagine I know a lot traditionally things like D&D are usually a more cartoonish approach, not cartoonish per se, but more animated, more fantasy type of setting look, and that's what a lot of people think, I think, on default when they think of a tabletop game. I usually imagine this is what I call the Alonian space universe because I use a lot of different universes in GURPS. This is just the one we picked for the podcast because it was the most fleshed out universe, and I thought people are probably sick of the fantasy ones. Maybe not sick of, but they're overdone. So sci-fi was a little more fun, a little more up our alley. I usually think of this more along the lines of kind of like if those of you who are familiar with the Stargate universe. So not like high sci-fi, not like Star Trek or Star Wars, but kind of Stargate where things are like, they're out there and some people know about them, but it's like, it's a little bit fantasy-esque, but more realistic. Or also another show that has a pretty good, but yeah, I usually imagine it more live action-y. Another show that has a pretty good feel to the universe, from what I've been told. I need to finish watching it. I'm only like on the first season, but The Expanse is another really good sci-fi show, which is one I think about for this universe a lot. I'm trying to think of. I draw inspiration from a lot of things, obviously, as who doesn't? Any GM, any DM will tell you that very rarely do you have an idea that is solely and primarily your own. Obviously, you don't plagiarize, but ideas are drawn from different things. Like even if it's just one aspect of a character. But yeah, I think those are the things I draw from the most. I try to keep my sci-fi not realistic per se. I try to keep it not too fantasy, but also not too mundane. I like a good balance because if everything is explainable through science, it gets a little boring. But also, if everything is just weird space magic, then nothing has real risks. Everything is like, oh, anything could happen, which I think is a little less fun personally. To everyone their own. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, I usually imagine the universe. The universe of Alonian space is a pretty fleshed out one. The universe of Alonian space has its own system, which has its own date system, which is ZE, which stands for Zebexian era. There was the event prior in the Alonian universe was Elonia, which was a very high tech level world. It's the only tech level 12 world that was in existence. For those of you who are familiar with GURPS, that just describes how advanced the planet is. A very long time ago. And the planet suddenly went missing during the events of the Elonian Wars, which caused a large portion of space to be more or less destroyed, uninhabitable, which basically made a new Dark Age, just a huge loss of information. And people have basically been searching for Elonia ever since, kind of like the treasure planet of the universe, more or less. In this universe, Earth isn't a lost planet like a lot of sci-fi universes. It's just very far away. It would take you like more or less a lifetime to get there, so travels to and from old Earth are not very common. Other things that have happened in this universe is the treaty with the Zebexian embassy, which isn't really a war. It's the Zebexians, which are a more or less kind of fourth dimensional race. They partially inhabit this universe, this plane, but not entirely. And they appear as more or less large fish-like creatures in space. Like think not space whales, but think on that plane. And they inhabit a nebulous cloud that is adjacent to the Elonian space galaxy. And the nebula has more or less slowly been encompassing the galaxy. And I mean, it's a nebula at space, so it is very slowly. But there have been precautions taken for the parts of the galaxy that the nebula encompasses. There's a treaty with the Zebexians, which is the Zebexian embassy. And there's a lot of laws and treaties regarding planets that are displaced by the cloud and things like that. The universe has... I'm just going to keep describing the universe. If you have anything else, feel free to interject. I'm just kind of going. The system has charted out I have a legend and things which are going to remain my information unless this campaign reaches a full conclusion, because they could be kind of spoilery, even though it is just kind of like things that people would know in the universe. So there are 2016 total system sectors. One sector is approximately 20 astronomical units cubed, or, oh God, can I read that number there? 300 million kilometers cubed? I'm not sure if I read the right number of zeros there. The total system dimensions are approximately 240 AU on the x-axis by 140 AU on the y-axis by 480 AU on the z-axis for approximately 9,408,000 AUs cubed. There are 97 total inhabited planets, 116 uninhabited planets, 25 stars, 141 total satellites on those planets, 385 refueling stations, which count as satellites, and 12 anomalies, which are just other anomalous structures within the system itself. I don't think he's visited any of them in this campaign, but there's a decent amount of them, which will probably be covered later. The system navigational points on the x-axis are one is the Elonian Dead Zone, which is as I said, large portion of space which was either destroyed entirely or just is no longer inhabited due to radiation or things like that, which is the Ionian Dead Zone. And the other one is Corthol's Eyes, which is, if you've been listening, Corthol is one of the larger entities, never directly encountered, but he has a large cult following, and he apparently resides in Universe B or another plane entirely. And it's an anomaly, which is, it's either is or appears to be a large eye-like structure. That's the best way to describe it. On the y-axis, there's the Dorgoth black hole, which is just a supermassive black hole, which is more or less seen as an absence of things in the space. Not quite the same as the Ionian Dead Zone, more of a large dark hole. And on the other side of the y-axis is the Zubexian Nebula, which I previously described. On the z-axis, there's the Super Void, which is different from the Dead Zone and the Dorgoth black hole, that it is just seemingly a portion of space where nothing resides. Not destroyed, not a black hole where things were sucked in. There's just nothing there. And attempts to inhabit that zone or to make a... no, actually, it's not. Sorry, the Ionian universe is not. It's not from a book or a game universe. It's not a requirement for GURPS, but GURPS is such a versatile system that I have before. Sorry, when I was learning the game, I have, but I always tend to go on my own. I apologize. I see that you wanted to find a wiki. Unfortunately, that won't quite be possible. The Ionian universe is one of my own creation, which is what I use for all of my GURP systems, all of my fantasy worlds, my sci-fi worlds, everything like that. I completely make from scratch, which is fairly time-consuming, but I really enjoy doing it. So everything is... Oh, I think that was Ian. Half a moment. I might have locked the door. Let me go check. But yeah. So unfortunately, that won't be possible, but I'm always happy to answer any questions that... Okay, it wasn't Ian. I always happy to answer any questions that occur during the stream if people have questions. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I like doing it. I think it's more fun to have personally, I think it's a little more fun to have I obviously understand when people draw from things. I've done campaigns that are drawn from sources, and they're just as fun, honestly. But for my own campaigns, I prefer to make original universes, if for no other reason than it provides the players with, I think, a more realistic and more truthful emergence into the universe. Because with things like Star Wars, like with systems like Force and Destiny or things like that, it's fun to know the universe. It's fun to know everything, but that also leaves a little less room for fun, a little less room for exploration. When your players if they're like Star Wars fans, they know everything that's going to happen. They know everything that's going on in the universe. There's nothing really to introduce them to. Where in an original universe, it's everything's new. They're wide-eyed childs in a candy store. The world is there for theirs to explore, and everything they discover really is them discovering it. It's not, oh, I knew this out of character, and now this is my character discovering it. Meta things. It really is, oh, I want to know what's happening. This is neat, which I really prefer. I think it's more fun. That's also just my personal opinion. Some people prefer working off source materials, and I think that's good too. It's just not my preference as a GM. Yeah, I can continue talking about the since you asked. Yeah, I apologize. There's no wiki. I guess this will become people's kind of baseline for what exists in the universe. I'll keep talking until I get another one. I do appreciate the comments, and I'm glad people are enjoying listening to me rant while Ian is much later than I initially thought. Maybe I should have held off on starting, but that's fine. There are two types of drives people use, dimensional drives. Subspace drive is more of a bubble than a quick regular space things. It's a dip into I don't want to call it a full other dimension, kind of like a bubble dimension. And it's more or less creates a field around your ship, which allows you to drop into that and travel at more or less the same speed, but distance traveled in that universe covers a larger distance in the regular world. There's a lot of techno-babble that I've used about how it uses like a particle accelerator and unstandard, unstable antimatter and things like that colliding with other atomic structures to create the field. That's a lot of techno-babble, and I've talked about it before, I think, but it's a lot of nonsense, obviously, because I'm no physicist. But yeah, the standard antiparticle drive goes... it's 154 hours or 6.41 days per sector jump. So that's 0.000036075 AU per second, or 3,353 miles per second, or roughly 1.8% the speed of light. So it's not actually faster than light travel, much faster than we have access to today, but not even close. And then there's the Ionian dimensional drive, which is a little bit different. Nobody really understands how they work. There have been attempts to reverse engineer them, but no successful efforts so far. People can use them. There are still some in circulation, but we haven't been able to make more yet. And those go 200. Those only take 27.72 hours per sector jump, or roughly 1.15 days. And those go 0.000200399 AU per second, or 18,628.23 miles per second, or pretty much exactly 10% the speed of light. Let's see if I'm missing anything. Yeah, sorry, that's not what I said earlier isn't quite true. There are now other tech level 12 worlds, but there wasn't at the time of the Alonia War. I could list out all of the planets, but that would leave me in kind of a weird situation when I have to add more, if I have to add more. Things like that happen. And also, there's, as I said, like over 100 planets, so that would take a while and not really give anybody anything. I can talk about the anomalies, though, which I mentioned earlier, and I said I don't think he's gone to any of them. So there are 12 anomalies. I can give a summary of each. I don't want to spoil too much in case either Ian decides to go to them, or if they become important later on. None of them are so far, but you know, stories change as they go on. I only have it plotted so far in advance because players can make choices, and I don't like to railroad too much. Oh yeah, alien races. Yeah. So alien races they exist. They're not unheard of, obviously. As if you've been listening, you've encountered one or two. So alien races aren't super common. There are a few of them. As I previously mentioned, there are the Zebexians, which are the kind of fourth dimensional-ish large race that resides partially in another plane. There are most races are actually variations on human, but let me think. There are, like Ian encountered, there was Kratkatenka and Marimba, which for Ian's sake, he doesn't actually know the name of that race, but they were a more kind of like a large, I'll describe them as like cockroach-like. They were chitinous and roughly humanoid in size, but 6 legs, you know the gist of that. I'm thinking if he's encountered any other aliens, really. He encountered several kind of, I'm going to try to keep it just for the sake of, I'll definitely answer that more in detail later on if it gets asked again. I'm going to kind of keep this one a little less in depth just because it may become important. It will become important later, and I don't want to spoil too much for Ian because he likes to listen through these afterwards. There was the kind of anomalous cloud he encountered at the beginning, which was a race that is directly tied to Korthol and Korthun in a way that is a little spoilerish, but that is definitely a kind of the closest that this universe comes to an eldritch type of thing. There is the biological life that the cultists seem to have aboard their ships. Their ships seem to be roughly like a fourth biological in nature, and people outside of the Preachers of Korthol do not have any idea what that entails. Scientists have tried to study it, but it's difficult because once a ship is cleared out of Kortholian Preachers, the ship seems to more or less slowly die unless it, I'll say, imbibes a living source. But yeah, the ships that have been going for longer and longer seem to have their metal wear away, and as you experience, these green veins occur, and that is actually a form of alien life. In larger vessels like the Harbinger's flagship, they actually will kind of become, the captain will kind of become part of the ship and will have their biological structure changed to fit, and the ship, they more or less can absolve themselves of the need for air or food and simply take nutrients directly from the ship itself, usually from a central point, like on the flagship, it's a throne. But these ships do also require a living source. They are a living being themselves. They have to sustain themselves on something. And it is not uncommon for Chthonian preachers to either sacrifice themselves ceremonially to the ship, or be more or less, if the ship has not been, I'll call, fed in a while, unceremoniously devoured or kind of drawn in and eaten. I think if there's any other alien races he's encountered. He encountered a large variety when he was on the planet briefly that Kratkatenkin and Marimba took him to. Universe B is the main holder of alien life, if for no other reason than, as I believe Vashim previously stated, much earlier on in the timeline, Universe B was used as kind of a prison colony, much like modern-day Australia used to be for Britain. And it seems like a large variety of the aliens that perhaps encompassed Elonian space originally were, shall we say, relocated at the wants of the current government at that time. Oh, I thought that was somebody knocking. I guess it wasn't. Never mind. Um, I think the vast majority of what people in this universe would more or less call aliens would actually be variations on humans. Like there are I think oh no, that was a different campaign in this universe. There's people like I think the most notable NPC I've had would be Leech Goodwin, which was a kind of a roughly genetically engineered human, which was made to be more compatible with psionics. There's also that they kind of have a slightly translucent blue skin, and traditionally they have several cybernetic enhancements. There are also races of humans who have chosen to go almost entirely cybernetic to the level of being almost entirely and I almost said androgynous. Well, I guess that's true to a point. Androids with a simple brain case. It really does depend on the planet also, because there are lots of different tech levels. It goes from tech level 12 all the way down to tech level 4, and almost all of them know about each other, even the tech level 4. But planets that are lower tech level like that tend to be off limits to the general public, as the governmental systems in place, which would be the sanctioned amalgamate, which is the combination of 3 different governments, which is the Artemis, Draxus, and the Elonian Society, kind of like the UN, have deemed that it would be more beneficial to the galaxy at large for those planets to advance on their own, to possibly add things that the societies had not done scientifically to enhance humanity as a whole. I think, unfortunately, that's the most I can talk about aliens. They're not common. They're not like, if you encounter one, you're not going to be like, oh my god, it's an alien. What the heck? They're real. It's just going to be like, oh, I don't see these very often. That's kind of neat. Kind of like, yeah. So it wouldn't shock people, but it would be uncommon. It does exist. Most alien races, there are a lot of just like alien, I'll say fauna, alien life that is not considered sentient. I think animals are sentient, but not considered intelligent. And that goes on most planets. There are definitely a lot of planets that were already in what we consider the Goldilocks zone in Elonian space, which is kind of why this galaxy was flown to originally and inhabited. So a lot of planets already had types of life. Nothing really evolved, at least in officially recognized history. Nothing that was evolved to the state that humanity was at. Although, as some people suspect, they may have been there originally and banished to Universe B, which has now become more or less its own place, less of a prison and more of just another place, much like Australia became eventually. I think that's kind of it on the alien front. I would like to talk about it more, but we're going to have to wait until later on in the campaign when Ian encounters all that, which will probably answer itself as they... Oh, actually, one more I can talk about, which is a little bit secret-ish, but Ian's encountered 1 or 2 of them, so I think it won't be too spoilerish if he listens to this. There is actually another race that is almost human, but is definitely not, and that is the race that Vashim is. When he introduced himself as a simple traveler, that was a bit of a misnomer, a little bit of a leading you in the wrong path. The Travelers is actually another race entirely. When he says, I am but a simple traveler, trying to kind of mislead you into thinking, oh, he's just a wanderer. He is a traveler in the fact that travelers are another race. They were another race that originated from a galaxy also away from Elonian space. And they arrived here before humanity did. And they've kind of been, they consider themselves, they usually, it kind of depends on who you ask. They're divided into 2 different sects, more or less. That is SECTS, not SEX, which are people who consider themselves watchers, who believe that they should not interfere with the effects of the universe directly outside of their control. They shouldn't interfere with the things of humanity. They should only watch and take note and transcribe history as it occurs throughout the universe. They have a much longer lifespan than humans, and they can... I'd have to check my notes to see exactly how, but not exactly, not quite Time Lord-esque, more in the way of a phoenix. They can be sort of reborn 1 to a few times depending on the individual. And they use that to their advantage. This can be from either the effects of injury or from the effects of aging. So their lifespan is traditionally hundreds, if not thousands of years long, depending on whether they're an adult or whether they are, I don't mean delinquent, whether they're still juvenile. And there's the other sect is the... I don't believe they have a universally recognized name, but they are the ones who don't believe that the Watchers are on the right. They are the ones who believe that they should affect the universe at large And those are ones like Vashim, who have taken an active role in the society. And they are traditionally a bit more attuned to psionics. As we covered recently, due to Vashim talking, actually, most psionics, all of the Sakamuras and things like that, what was his name? Ichiro Sakamura. Psionics stem from another mycelic race. Actually, yeah, sorry, I'm going to talk about aliens I keep forgetting about. Mycelic race, which have only been known so far as the... I'd have to check my notes. It's either the bequeathed or the inheritors, but I'm blanking on which one it is. I should know that off the top of my head, but there's a lot of things in my head. Which kind of are a mycelic type race, who kind of have more or less tied themselves either through breeding or through another symbiotic type relationship, kind of intermingled themselves with humanity, and they are actually kind of a separate race, a separate thing, which is kind of like a... Think of those who can use psionics as kind of infected with a sort of fungus almost, but not on a biological level, not on an outer level. So things can actually happen, like you can get an psionic infection or things like that, which can be taken care of with antibiotics or psionic treatment. But that's where the majority of humanity's psionics come from. So the higher percentage of that mycelic race you have in your DNA, the stronger your psionic abilities. The Sakamuras have the strongest psionic abilities in the galaxy. And the rest of humanity's psionic abilities have actually been more or less weakening as time goes on. So either the people who had it originally have lost contact with the mycelic race, or they've all died out. And as it gets further and further out of humanity's bloodstream, as those with stronger bloodlines intermix with those with weaker bloodlines, humanity is actually losing the ability to use psionics, which is an interesting point. It'll take the span of many hundreds, if not thousands of years, but it's slowly going away at the current time in the Elonian universe. Whereas the Travelers seem to have another form of it. They have a different link to psionic abilities, which is so far unexplained in the universe, and I will leave it so until it comes to that. But they have seemingly a separate source, whether it be actually pure brain power, as traditional psionic powers are, or another source. Additionally, there is one other recognized source, which isn't public knowledge, but something Ian has encountered at this point, of psionic abilities, which is the preachers of the Cortholian preachers, who... It is actually uncommon, if seldom, to see a Cortholian preacher who uses a psionic ability, but those who do tend to have the same sigil that Newman encountered when he touched that crystalline structure, which seems to be granted by Corthol or Corthun or whoever whichever Cortholian preacher you ask believes to be the deity they follow. It seems to be powers granted by that being for unknown reasons, or... it's unknown as of the current society. That's why people try to study the crystals. They're like, oh, is this actually a type of gateway, a type of communication to talk to these older beings, these quote-unquote gods, or are these crystals themselves providing people with powers and visions and hallucinations, all of the same way the mycelic race sort of was to early humanity in this sector. Yeah, I started talking about the Travelers, and that's kind of got to that. So yeah, there are a few other races that hold a huge role in this universe's conception and creation and its ongoing existence, but not a lot. Yeah, that is actually Hellsholm and Finding the Divine Source. Those two aren't as interlinked as it appears from Newman's character. The Finding the Divine Source was actually Newman's original conception from the get-go. It's his motivation for leaving Hellsholm and everything that occurred thereafter. So Hellsholm is one of the lower tech level planets. It's a tech level 4 world. So traditionally and legally, it wouldn't be common or possible for somebody who's born on that world to get off to travel to higher tech level planets. But Newman managed to, his obsession with finding the divine source. So Newman's beliefs, more or less, as he's explained them to me out of character, is that he believes that all technology, human advancement, he believes in human advancement and evolution on its own, but he also believes in a higher power granting humanity that ability to evolve technologically, to build new things, to grant people inspiration. And his original character conception was to get out into the world and find that. So Hellsholm, his backstory has been, he was born on a tech level 4 world, and during either a very, very unroutine investigation through a scientific community or through illegal smugglers, mercenaries of the type landing on the planet, he managed to get himself as a stowaway on board one of these ships and get himself out into the universe in order to find that divine source, because he believed he couldn't do it on his own world. That's an important stipulation. The people on these lower tech level worlds know about higher tech levels and about space travel. It's just kind of forbidden to them, I suppose I'll say. So Newman wasn't all right with that, and he got out into the world, and he's been searching for ever since this divine source, which is kind of what led him on this path at the beginning of the campaign. Is he's managed to get his own ship at this point. He's learned up to tech level, I believe he's 10. He might be 11. Let me open his sheet. He's learned up to tech level 11, yes, now. But he's been traveling the galaxy, just searching and searching and searching. And obviously he runs out of funds. He runs out of things like that. And so he took this job initially as just, I got to pay the bills, and then I'll keep looking. And it just kind of cascaded from there into this series of events, which seemingly has led him to discover the source, as he put it, as Vashim introduced himself as the technological source. Now, could that be Vashim pulling his leg or pulling strings because he needs to control Newman? Could that be the truth? Could that be kind of a fallacy that isn't entirely incorrect? He's the technological source, but not the same one Newman's looking for. Or maybe it doesn't exist entirely, and Newman's just not crazy, but misguided. Any of these are possible. I know the truth. If I gave it away, that would spoil the future. But yeah, that's kind of where Newman's coming from, and his relation to Hell's Home, which was humanity advances. He's seen it. Technology goes from a tech level 4 world to a tech level 11 society. There's worlds of advancement. And Newman has been trying to unlock the secret to that. He believes it's something beyond just humanity learning and getting stronger and learning more. He thinks that there's something inherently behind that, beyond just human preconception of how the world works. I think that's most succinctly what Newman believes on that front. I'm going to text him really quick because I feel like he should be here soon. He said that he'd be a little late, but this is getting a little ridiculous. I'm having a good time explaining this universe, and if that's all this session turns out to be, that's fine with me. And hopefully that's fine with listeners because they're learning something. But I do apologize because I know if you're listening, you were probably expecting role-playing, and so was I. But this is actually a pretty good little, not master class, obviously. I've been playing for 10 years, but it doesn't make me an expert. Kind of a fun little look at how I make my universes and how I design worlds and things like that, which isn't to say I'm right. It's just to say this is how I do it, which is, I know, is useful to some other GMs and DMs and things like that, because it's good to look at other ways, even if you don't agree with how they're built. How you doing, buddy? You almost here? Sorry for the little silence. I'm just sending a text, and I didn't want to... You know how it is when you're sending a text and you accidentally type the words you're saying out loud instead of what you want. Yeah, that's about that on that front. I'll briefly talk about not the stars, where are the anomalies, until I get another question or until Ian arrives. And if I run out of these things to talk about, then I'll find something else in the universe. I can start talking about the planets. It's just I don't think that'll be really beneficial. So the anomalies so far, I'll list them one at a time and then describe them. There's Korthul's Grasp, which is one of the major things used as proof that a higher power, such as larger and more powerful entity, such as Korthul, does exist, which is a kind of a breach in the fabric of this dimensional fabric, where one large humanoid hand extends into space, and we're talking massive. We're talking it encompasses a planet that is roughly 0.8%. No. 80%, that's what I'm looking for. 80% the size of Jupiter, and the planet seems to the hand seems to be very slowly over the course of hundreds of years grasping. Oh, sorry, let me see. Would you talk about how you use GURPS in your play? Is there a lot of rolling skills or more narrative? What mechanics come into play most with the play? Okay, yeah, I can talk about that. So yeah, I realize you guys can't see us roll, which is something I do also want to, along with upgrades in the thing. I kind of dropped that topic. We'll come back to that maybe. I kind of want to add a dice cam. We just have to get a better physical layout. You can't see our setup is kind of janky, but we're just doing this for fun, so it's not a huge thing. I tend to use more narrative. I really like skill rolls because obviously I think that is the basis of a tabletop, because otherwise you could just sit at a round table with your friends, and if you have a universe, you could just talk them through what they're doing, which is fun in a way, but not quite the same extent as, we have clearly defined what I'm good at, what I can do, what I can see, etc. So I tended to call for a lot of skill rolls. There are some skill rolls which are, I will admit, are just for the player's benefit, and I have already preconceived what will happen because it is an important story event. I try to railroad as little as possible, so there aren't a lot of those, but there are some where it's like, okay, this needs to happen or the campaign can't continue. I tend to keep it more narrative. I tend to ask a lot. I tend to be a little too lenient with things. I give things away because as a GM, I'm a little impatient, a little impulsive. I'll admit that. So it's kind of like I'm waiting for them to find something, and I'll accidentally be like, "Oh, do you want to try this?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's the answer," and I just told him, "Oops." But yeah, I'll try to get a skill roll for most things. If it's more than, "Oh, I want to look around," "Oh, what does this say?" "Oh, I walk to here." I usually try to keep it to skill rolls because I think that keeps it more interesting when there's really not a huge risk, but a level of competency, a level of, "Oh, I could fail at this with everything." Which has come up for Newman less because he is more of he's more of an engineer type character, and this adventure has been less tailored to his abilities. More so, he's been thrust into this, which is I kind of like to. It depends on the campaign. Sometimes I think it's good to, okay, I got the characters they've given me. Here's how I'll build the campaign so that they can be useful. There's also the, okay, I've built the campaign and told them what it's going to be. They need to build characters where it's useful. And then there's the reluctant hero, which I also kind of like, which is they've built a character. The campaign's a separate entity. This is their adventure, and they're going to try to have to do what they can, but this universe was not built with them in mind. This is an uncaring universe. This is a real place, and they're going to have to do what they can to survive. So I base this is kind of a yes and answer. Is I definitely base it off of narrative more than rolling, but rolling is important to me because otherwise I feel there's no point in playing a tabletop. So I usually keep rolls are usually extraneous. Usually there are times when they're important, like combat or piloting, or something like, oh, I need to get in contact with this person, I need to have a good reaction roll, I need to talk well, etc. But rolls in my universe, in most of my campaigns, are traditionally to gain extra knowledge. So it's like, okay, here's the baseline of the campaign. This is everything you know. This is everything you'll need. You can survive with just this. But there's also a lot to discover on the sidelines, and that's what a lot of rolls are for. Like, oh, did you fully investigate this room and find the hidden little things? Did you successfully roll to decode this message and find a little something hidden out here? Did you have the skills necessary or the language that you might need or the advantages to be able to go through and progress through this a little additional course? And I like that because I think it provides an air of Easter eggs, a little extra content. I know that's what I like in not in media because you can't really explore a TV show or a movie as you can something like a game. But I know that's what I like traditionally in my like video games and things like that, where there are things off the hidden path which don't necessarily provide you with any advantage and don't necessarily matter in the grand scheme of things. Like you could go through the game without knowing that and it'd be fine. You might have a few unanswered questions, but you'd be fine. But I really like when there are additional things to learn about the world. Also because I really like to flesh out worlds, so there's a lot to learn. But I also don't shy away from letting them miss things. If they miss something, it's a little frustrating sometimes when it's a planned out event, but if it's not story crucial, that's their loss, not mine, really. They've just missed out on something they could have found, and they won't necessarily know that. So it's kind of a yes and. The main plot I tended to keep mostly narrative with a few required roles to progress, which usually in most scenarios, unless they're a life or death type role, will be repeatable until they succeed. But for all the additional things they could learn, all the extraneous things, the interactions with characters who aren't story crucial, the finding of things and going of places that aren't story crucial, I tend to have a lot of roles because there are a lot of fun things they could learn, but they're not important, so you're going to have to try for them. Which is, I know the opposite of what some people might do. They might do, okay, this is important, so you have to try for them. Obviously, you have to try for things that are important, or it wouldn't be a game. There wouldn't be any risks if it's just like, if it's like a Final Fantasy 13 situation. Apologies for those of you who like that game, where you walk down a hallway, and yes, there's story, yes, there's gameplay, but you're walking down a hallway. You can't really get lost. You can't get led astray. It's just, I'm going to go forward. So while I have an overarching story planned, I try to only directly plan 1, maybe 2 sessions ahead of time because you never know for sure what your players are going to do. You can get a pretty good grasp. Like me and Ian have known each other 9, 10, maybe 8. I'm not actually sure. We've known each other a long time and we're best friends, so we have a pretty good grasp of each other's mindset and choices. But even then, he does things I don't expect. So I try to plan ahead, but also my players' choices should impact the story and they should impact the universe, or you'll get a Mass Effect 3 scenario where there was a lot of choices up until then, and then the ending didn't matter because it was the same no matter what you did before then. And I think that's not a fun way to do it. I think the choices should matter. They should affect the universe, if they're an important enough character to affect the universe at large. And they should... Oh, sorry, let me just text Ian back. He's the bus didn't show up. Oh, that's the American transportation system, isn't it? So we had to wait for the next one. Okay, just a second. Let me text him back. I understand. It's fine. We are having a good Q&A. Q&A. I'm not even using text to speech to text. I just have to type out what I'm saying. Which mechanics come into play most often? Oh yeah, you've probably heard once or twice. After playing this long, there's a few homebrewy type rules I throw in. Like when I say higher or lower, there are some things that I don't think call for a full roll, and I think would realistically just be you either succeed or you don't. Or kind of like, or sometimes there's things that would be based off of luck that I don't feel it's my place to determine. And for those, I'll call for a higher or lower roll, which is basically just a 50-50. 1 through 3 is lower, 4 through 6 is higher. And usually they don't have a huge impact. Usually they're like, oh, I want to find this weapon here at this shop. Can I do that? And I'm like, well, there's no reason it couldn't be here, but it's uncommon. So give me a higher or lower. Or things like, that's actually the best example. And sometimes if there's something that is purely based off luck, but not important, I'll call for multiple in a roll. Or if it's a really difficult thing, I might call for like a higher, lower, or middle, which is 1 through 2 is higher, and you get it from there. It's a 6d6. You can't. It's pretty evenly spread out. I think for the most part, that's how do rules. I do with modifiers because GURPS uses modifiers. You'll either get a plus or a minus depending on how hard or easy the task is, or it might be a baseline. I don't tend to disclose those positives or negatives to my players. If it's something they're really good at, I usually give it to them like, oh, you know how hard this is going to be. But for less skilled things, it's like a lot of the times, in my opinion, when you're going into something, you're not going to know how difficult it's going to be. So I'll have them roll, and then they could be like, oh, success by 2, and I'm like, sorry, that's not enough. Or they could be like, oh, I failed by 3, and I'm like, no, that's good. So it may sound like I'm being lenient or I'm being harsh sometimes, but I just like to keep the thing secret, which is also not something it's difficult because I can't disclose that necessarily with all of you beforehand, because I have to keep it a secret from him as well. Hey,
hi.
Ian has just arrived. So the bus didn't come?
Yeah, so the 11 came on time and was fine, and I got on. Actually,
the transfer didn't come.
I saw Tristan at that.
Oh,
stuff. It was cool.
Okay.
But then I got off and went to the 2, and it was supposed to come at 12:51.
Yeah.
And then it just never showed up until the next time it was supposed to come.
It's fine. I went through the summary at the beginning. I was like, oh, it's been like 10 minutes. He'll probably be here. And then I've been talking for the last hour.
Yeah.
Which is fine, actually. I've done it this time. Unlike last time when there was the awkward pause, no dead air. I can talk for a long time. Let me answer this. It's weirdness magnet, one of my favorite disadvantages. Has this come into play? Yeah, I can describe that kind of. It's come into play in in kind of how I've plotted the story more than kind of given him it's more or less gone more into the story element, into the stuff like that, than it has to things that affect him directly, if that makes sense. Like the meeting with Krakatank and Marimba is kind of like, he would have met somebody there, but they wouldn't necessarily have been alien. They probably would have just been human. Or things like the crystals he's encountered and the mycelic race, and kind of basically the whole plot. When somebody gets weirdness magnet, I try to factor it more into the plot than the individual character. Obviously, that's harder with larger parties. When it's larger parties, usually you have different arcs for different characters, or you just have a whole interlocking story for everybody. And it's a little bit harder to lock down. For things like that, I try to keep it more, you're going to encounter some NPCs which are aimed at you, or from the past, or things like that, which will be more weirdness magnet, or things like, you've received a strange message. It's definitely come into play. Ian's here, so I'm gonna go into that a little bit less, but and also so we can get started, obviously. But
sorry,
yeah.
I'm late today, guys. I woke up late because this has been my first chance to rest since coming back from Utah.
Oh, you're back already? I didn't know you left.
No, we left. So we left the 13th, and we got back late on the 17th.
Oh, you're fine. I understand. I woke up like 20 minutes before the podcast was set to start. We really aren't kidding where we say no matter what time it is, we just woke up. This is our day. This is our day to sleep, more or less, and we do this instead to ourselves, which is also it's a little funnier. What was I gonna say? Yeah, what was I in the middle of saying? I lost my train of thought. I woke up in something. I don't remember. Oh well. What were you saying about Utah?
Oh, I just got back.
Yeah, you just got back. I
haven't slept.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I got like no sleep because I was up till 5:30 a.m. playing a puzzle game because I didn't want to stop until I beat it.
Yeah.
I was playing The Room 3 and it was quite fun. And then I beat it and then I noticed it had 3 other endings, so I had to get all of them. Because I'm a masochist apparently for sleep. I mean, I better get ready for my 2 hours of sleep when school gets back going again. Yeah. Oh, college. Actually, I think all my classes are in the afternoon, so that's good.
That's convenient.
I'm giving Ian a chance to get everything set up. I'm not just continuing to talk once he's got here. Oh, you noticed we got a new mic, Ian?
I did. It moves. I was surprised. Yeah, it like shifted this way.
Yeah, it has a circular thing, and it would be facing straight at us, but the cord doesn't quite reach. I need to get an extender. But it also does have, it should have a microphone on both sides.
Yeah, it looks like it.
And hopefully we have better audio quality. I've been told this has better audio quality, but that's also just for me alone. I'm not sure how it is for 2 people. And also it has 3 different settings, which I can briefly try. 1, in my experience, has been the best for 2 people. 2 has been the best for 1 because it has the most noise canceling, and 3 picks up everything, which I don't want because you could literally hear my fan running, the air conditioner, and everything outside.
Yikes. Probably.
So, in the future, we can test the other settings at the beginning. Now I kind of want to get going, but not like hugely. We'll just have a shorter session. We'll just have an hour-long session.
Yeah.
Which works for me.
Yeah. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm all ready.
Do you want to do the intro again?
No, it's fine.
Come on, we got to do the intro again. No?
Go for it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Roll Out of Bed, where no matter what time it is.
We literally just woke up.
I'm your Game Master, Nav.
And I'm your player, Ian.
And I already gave a summary of the entire campaign so far, so unless you need it, Ian, I think. Do you remember what happened last time? It was 2 weeks ago.
Let me read the last thing I wrote.
Okay.
The Eddie edition might be done. All right.
Yeah, you remember you finished the mission and you arrived on the Thunder Shells.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, you've arrived on this bridge and you see out before you see this kilometer-long ship. You see it seems in more or less disrepair. It's functioning. It's not like falling apart or anything, but you can see there are large swaths of it that have like holes from what looks like space combat. I can't think of the word I'm thinking of. Shootout, things like that. Right. You can see there are large portions where it has windows like ports, and you can see most of them are not most. Sorry, a portion of them near where you are lit, but you can see also large swaths of the ship where they're unlit. It looks unpowered almost.
Right.
And then you heard Vashim behind you, and he said more or less, you finally arrived. We have much to discuss, and I can show you around your vessel and meet with the other crew members.
My vessel. Wait,
I
have a voice. Hold on, I'm getting there.
You're British.
I know. It's been a hot second.
You're fine.
I've been busy.
Don't worry about it.
You said this was my vessel. What do you mean by that?
Of course. I forget how your memory plays into all of this based on. Well, we won't get into that now. This is your vessel. You are the captain of this vessel. That means not necessarily the captain's duties fall on your head. We don't expect you to give all the orders, unless, of course, you feel ready, Newman. But the vessel is in your belonging, and we treat it as such. You are the owner of this vessel and its overall commander. Whether you choose to enforce that capability or not is truly up to you.
Well, that sounds thrilling. All right. I suppose we should get the introductions going then.
Oh yes, of course. You can see just before he starts moving towards a how do I describe this? Towards a roughly cylindrical. You can see it looks almost like a hallway, but you can see there's a door that will likely slide closed. Kind of a cylindrical thing. Right. You'd recognize it as a movement grid, which is kind of like an elevator, just in. That was in 4 dimensions.
It also moves in time.
I mean, isn't that the plot of Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator?
Yeah.
I read that book. It was scary as a kid.
It's strange.
The aliens were spooky.
Strange.
Yeah. But yeah, it would be a 3-dimensional elevator, more or less. It can go up, down, left, right, forward, back.
All right.
I can't go diagonally. That's why. It can't. It only could go diagonally if there were pathways there, but that's inefficient and bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's after moving towards that. The room you're currently in, as I said, is the bridge. You can see there are about 4 consoles and a command seat. The command seat's roughly in the middle, and it faces out towards the viewport. And then there's a weapons array, a piloting seat, a comms array, and a sensor array. And yeah, that's just all you notice. Only 2 of them seem to be active. You can notice the lights are on them as you leave the room. And the command seat, it seems very dusty, is what I'll say. Yeah, he takes you into the movement grid, and as you both step in, you see he kind of has to stoop down because, as you may remember, Bashim's like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
And the movement grid it's tall enough to sustain most heights, but he's a bit bigger than that. It looks like it's more built to sustain people who are, I'll say, bulkier.
Right.
It's more wide than it is tall, which seems to be just a second. I need to clear my throat. Okay, there we go. But yeah, as you step in, you can see that it has more or less what looks like a how do I say this? Not like a phone pad, but it's got like basically the numpad thing.
Right.
Instead of having the floors all labeled out on a thing,
right.
It kind of has. You can see it's a directory, almost like not quite a book. It's a screen, and you can scroll through all the different numbers and see the different decks, the different rooms, and each of their numerical assignments. And you can see a small screen that'll display the number you type in. And it looks, as you scroll, as Vashim scrolls through the directory, because I suppose he probably wouldn't need to. He'd be showing this to you more or less. Sorry, he has all of them memorized.
Right.
And actually, you could too with photographic memory. You're probably remembering them committing them to memory as he looks through them.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, you're seeing almost all of them are unlit, which he means basically they're currently inaccessible. He explains that the vessel, if in time you choose to continue to use this as a base of operations, as he more or less hopes you will, but he says the choice is as always yours.
Right.
He says in time he hopes the vessel will be repaired, but currently there are large swaths of the ship that are unavailable or unusable, either due to blockages in the movement grid, inaccessibilities from the more or less, I think they're called Jeffries tubes. That might only be a Star Trek term. I don't know. The maintenance tunnels.
Right.
Or that the rooms are just unpowered, or there's a breach into space and there's no atmosphere. Things like that. And he says there's not enough power to sustain all the ship at once, or things like that. And he says as we progress and go on missions, if you choose in your own free time, or if you discover things on missions to repair the vessel, it will grow in capabilities and size, and we can hold more crew members as that progresses.
Wonderful.
It looks like currently there are only out of looks like, oh god, let me actually look at the number. Out of 112 possible destinations, 8 are lit up currently. And he more or less asks you where you'd like to start, if you just want to pick a number or if you want to read through all of them.
Yeah, I'll read through them.
Okay, so the 8 are, there is actually one of them he says he will take you to last regardless. So there's the mess hall. Not the mess hall. What would I call it? The kind of like a. I can't think of the word for this. You know, what's the name for like a bar with a stage? Where there's like you think of the circular tables and it's got the bar and
like
a tavern. I don't know what to call it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like a.
It's labeled whatever the word for that is.
It's just like a bar.
It's not in my notes because I wrote look it up and then I forgot to. But you know what I mean.
Now I want to know the word.
Should I look it up?
Yeah, you should look it up.
Okay.
Like I know exactly
let me
what
see.
that is.
Bar with stage. It's called. It's not called McMenamin's. That's a coffee. That's a bar near us. I think it might just be called a theater.
Yeah.
Theater and pub is what I'm finding. Pub, maybe.
Maybe pub.
I think pub is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, pub's.
There's one, and he says he will take you there last. There is crew quarters 1. Crew decks, crew segments, segments 1 and 2. There is. Sorry, I didn't wait for you to write these.
No, you're good.
Okay. There is the mess hall. There is the sub armory. There is the communications hub. There is the. For a second, my laptop scrolled. Oh my god, don't close the page. Why are you like this? Okay, there we go. There is the dang it, I did it again. Sorry, what did I say? I said, which ones did I read already? I said crew segment 1 and 2, mess hall, sub armory, hub, comm station, and Then that's the last one. Then and then there's the I can't read. Sorry, I suddenly can't read. There's that's right. Sorry, there's the observatory. Sorry, I even though you told me which ones I read, I was just looking over them blankly. You know how it is sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know words.
Yeah. So he asked you more or less which one you'd like to go to first.
Let's go to the mess.
Okay. So yeah, he basically types in the number, and you see it appear on the screen, and then there's a confirmation more or less. And there's a small voice clip that basically says traveling to, like on the trains, things like that. Yeah, and it starts moving. The movement isn't really noticeable, unlike a regular elevator. It likely has the same grav plating the rest of the ship does, so you're not going to get jostled around unless it suddenly comes unpowered, which would be bad for most people.
Yeah.
It's not going to drop. It's like an elevator where it's got a magnetic lock, but it's still not preferable. You will be stuck there. And with something that spans over 1 kilometer and it's pretty tall too, you probably don't want to be stuck in a shaft like that. But yeah, sorry. So it transports to the mess hall. It actually transports to a hallway, which opens up, and you can see there is a doorway at the end of which several side doorways also, but they appear to be locked and unlit.
Right.
But yeah, you see this hallway before you, and Vashim more or less he does like the hand gesture forward, outstretched arm, and he basically he doesn't say anything unless you say anything to him, but he just kind of points out toward the double door ahead.
No, I'll just move towards that.
Okay. So yeah, you reach this double door. It's got basically just a small, what does it have? Sorry, what do I call that? It's got a door open button which you recognize, and it also has I'm thinking of the word for this. I'll say a communication station kind of. It's got like a button, and you can see there's the microphone / speaker array right above it,
right,
as well as a small screen. But yeah, there's also this shut double door.
Well, I'll open it.
Okay, you open it and you can see into the mess hall before you. It's roughly what you'd expect. Kind of like, I'm thinking what's a good approximation, like 3 times the size of what's a pretty standard thing, school cafeteria.
Yeah,
like 3 times the size of a school cafeteria. You can see there are a large amount of tables kind of set out. Rather than being placed, they look like they are kind of embedded in the floor. Not like screwed and bolted in, but actually kind of extending from the metallic floor. This is part of the ship that the previous hallway you came from, as well as where you were in the bridge, has been not fully carpeted, but like you can tell there's been some padding laid down over the hard metal floor. The mess hall does not have that same thing, likely for sanitary reasons. Yeah. But yeah, you can see there's also the chairs do not appear to be set into the floor in the same way. You can see there are 3 people currently in the mess hall. It doesn't appear like a cafeteria where there are people serving food. Rather, you see there are kind of it looks almost like maybe it's not in the best shape right now, actually, because you can see there are several like what looks like the equivalent of like a freezer, several fridges, like a microwave, like a stove. It kind of looks like people are preparing their own things in here.
Right.
There aren't really like all of Star Trek. There aren't really what are they called? You know what I mean when they make the food.
Yeah.
I had the word and then I just blanked on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there aren't really those. They exist on like some Tech Level 12 worlds, but they're very uncommon, and this is not a Tech Level 12 ship to your knowledge so far. But yeah, you can see 3 people. One of them is currently getting food, and the other 2 are seated together.
All right. I'll go to the 2 that are seated.
Okay. You go to the 2 that are seated, and one of them stand. One of them. Does he stand up? Sorry. Let me actually. This is kind of weird because technically they would have rolled the reaction modifier earlier. But let me see the campaigns. Sorry, where's campaigns on your side? Yeah, that one. Yeah. Do you have? I think you have voice, don't you?
I have voice.
Do you say anything when you approach, or are you approaching first and seeing what they do?
I don't think I say anything.
Okay.
Yet.
So then you don't get your voice advantage, but you do get honest face.
Oh yeah, I have that.
You do have that. I don't think that applies because you're not lying to anyone.
No,
and you're not telling a truth either. Okay, that's
not.
a decent reaction roll. Let's see. Oh no, it's not.
Oh
no! Let me see.
You work for me. You have to like me.
One of okay, so neither of them stand, but one of them throws up kind of a half-hearted salute, more or less, like pretty generic, like I'm putting my thing, my hand to my forehead and back away. And the other one looks up. The other one looks up, and he kind of gives you like the white person like half smile and like the head nod, and then he looks back down and goes back to eating.
Oh great!
But the other, you know what I mean by the white person smile, right?
Exactly.
Okay. And then the one who saluted said, "Well, good to see you, Captain."
Hello. I'm sorry, I don't actually know you yet. You know me. It's weird and complicated. I'm sure you understand it more than I do.
Yeah. Vashim filled us in on that. So are we like the first ones you're meeting here, or?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance again, then, Captain. He seems a bit more personable now than he was a second ago. He seems like for whatever reason, now that he knows this is your first time meeting him, he's a little more inclined to talk to you. You're not sure why.
Oh, great.
But yeah, he extends his hand, kind of like he's looking for a handshake, more or less.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So he starts to reach out his right hand, then he sees oh, never mind. Sorry, I forgot his sin skin. He doesn't see your robotic arm. Never mind.
Great.
He does reach out his right hand, and you assumably shake it. He says, "Yeah, all right. I'm Mark. Should I wait for you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Mark. This person here to my right is Rick.
Mark and Rick.
I don't think that's from anything. It shouldn't be.
No, they're just very generic names.
Yeah, they are very generic names.
Like it.
People can have generic names. Your name Benjamin. Get out of here.
I know, but it's not one syllable.
It can be shortened to Ben.
Yeah, but
Actually, I guess Mark and Rick aren't short for anything. Rick could be Richard.
Rick could be Richard. Although that's usually like Dick.
Yeah, usually. People don't usually. Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways,
I don't think Mark's short for anything. Mark Player. Sorry.
Say the same thing.
I know. That's what I was thinking. But yeah. He basically says, "Oh, okay. Yeah. So good to meet you again, Captain. Rick here's just a little more quiet. Don't take it too personally. Not a lot of us aboard. Avishii might have informed you. Yeah. Only about 22 of us aboard the vessel currently, but we're working hard to get everything in working repair. And yeah, more or less awaiting your orders. The next mission."
Fantastic. So, what exactly is your job here? So I know.
Yeah.
Need help with.
No problem. Everyone you see in here right now is more or less, I'll call us the cleaning crew. I'm not going to say janitorial, but like if there's a mess, if there's something that needs a quick repair that we can fix, if something needs to be moved, unbolted, sealed, stuff like that. We're not quite engineers. We're not quite janitorial. We're kind of at the little middle ground there. So if you need a quick fix, you need something cleaned up, you need something sealed down, bolted, we're who you'd call for that.
All right, the handyman, if you will.
Yeah, that's a pretty good term for it. Fantastic. Oh, sorry, I forgot to introduce you. You see the guy over there getting food. That's Jason. Jason's probably, I don't want to say the most hostile. He's a little more friendly. Not more, sorry, wrong word. A little less friendly. He's not going to like attack you or anything, but be prepared for a snide comment or two if you go and talk to him.
Well, we can all do with a little bringing down of our ego sometimes.
Fair enough, Captain.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your friendly response. I hope to continue our work together, and well, I hope to get to know you better, even if you know me.
Of course, Captain.
Enjoy your food, and then I will make my way over to Jason.
Okay, you make your way over to Jason, and he's still. It looks like he's basically just waiting impatiently in front of the microwave, more or less. He's just staring intently at it, arms crossed, kind of tapping his foot. He doesn't seem to notice your approach.
All right, I'll walk up next to him and say, "You know, we really should get a better one of these."
And he doesn't even turn around at first. He goes, "Yeah, I know." And then he turns kind of goes, "Oh, Newman, didn't know you were back on board."
Yes, well, when you say back, unfortunately, this is actually my first time, so that's confusing for me. But nice to meet you again for the first time.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. He kind of throws up he throws up his hand, just from like just the elbow up.
Right. I'll do like the exact same thing. So it's like,
his handshake's pretty limp, but it's like a handshake.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, Vashim kind of told us about that at the briefing, more or less. I thought he was just being a prick, though. Didn't know he was serious. Yeah, good to meet you again. I take it Rick already told you what we do here.
Yes, a very important job, if you ask me, but...
Yeah, thanks, Captain. I mean, it is good to see you back on board. It's been a little while. I understand we're just meeting for the first time.
Indeed.
I look forward to working with you again. I don't know how much we'll interact, but I like seeing you.
Well, I'd like seeing you too, for what that's worth, since I've never seen you before. Yes, I hope we can get along as best as possible.
Yeah, thank you, Captain.
And then I'll return to Vashim and say, well,
yeah,
I like
as you're walking away, like as you're like halfway across the mess hall, you do hear him go, yeah, next supply drop we stop at. Can we get a new one of these?
I turn around and go, absolutely. I hate waiting for food.
All right, cool. All right.
Write that on the expense report and go.
New microwave.
New microwave. Plus 10 watts.
Plus 10.
Only
all?
10.
That's all?
No. I don't. I'll let them make that decision.
All right.
That's not my job.
So you make your way back to Bashim?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll make my way back and say, well, I'd say that's a good start. I'm liking our crew already. Shall we move on?
Certainly, Captain. It's always good for a captain to like his subordinates.
Well, yes.
You disagree? Well, yes. What is that? You don't like that he called them subordinates?
Yeah.
That's fair. I understand. Uh-oh.
It's under the other leg over here.
You can see it?
Yeah. Tier.
I'll find it.
Yeah.
What were you going to do? I just dropped my die.
I'm gonna.
There we go.
Ask him to head us toward the crew decks number 1. The crew deck.
Okay. Crew segment 1. Yeah. Okay. So he types in some more things, and you go down. This one seems to be almost directly under. You assume that the crew segments, based on how the orientation goes once you press it, it looks like both the crew segments are directly under the mess hall, or at least in close proximity to it, which does make sense. Yeah, you go down to crew segment 1. It stops and it opens up into a hallway. The hallway's rather long. It looks like it covers the so the ship is long. Oh geez, how do I say that? Fore to aft, and then port to starboard. It's the narrower dimension. Right. It looks like this hallway is laid out port to starboard, so it's across the shorter dimension of the ship, but it does appear to go all the way across. So it's still decently sizable. And you see there are four doorways. 4 doorways. That's what I mean. 2 on each side.
Right.
And then it looks like there is another movement grid at the far end of the hall.
Okay. Are the doors labeled at all, or are they just doors?
Doors labeled. It's possible, but not necessarily. So give me a higher or lower.
Lower.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
So it looks like some of these doors have more than one name. Some of them only have one. So you do see in crew segment 1, you do see Rick, Morty, Jason. Rick, Morty. Oh God, I really hate myself for that. I want to kill myself.
That was fully subconscious.
That was
just straight up.
It's because it has an M.
Yeah.
And I just said Rick. I really hate that. I don't even really like that. I don't hate that show. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's fine.
It exists. The show is okay. The people associated with it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the show. I don't like the fans.
Neither do I really. But yeah, so Rick, Mark, and Jason are all on one door. You see on another door, you see Samantha, Claire, and Catherine. I forgot her first name for a second. None of these have last names, by the way. Just first names.
That's okay. I didn't get any last names with my other 3, so
that's fair. I mean, you could have asked.
I could.
These doors don't have them, is what I'm saying. On the other one, you see. Let me look. These weren't necessarily labeled, so I have to look at the crew list, and I know where people go more or less. I just have to remember all of their names instead of just this is probably who will be in this room.
Right.
There is on the next one there is Ruby. Ruby and Zinth. Zinth, because you're writing them down. And on the other one, there is simply Henry, and that's all the 4 doors.
All right. Do I hear any sort of movement to or anything that would indicate someone is behind any of these doors?
I mean, let me think. I think that's actually a really good rule. I was going to say no, but I think they're metal doors, and it's a metal wall, so it's kind of hard. I mean, things reverberate down hallways, but when they're closed, it's a little less hard to get a read. You think you can hear something coming from the far left, which would be the Samantha, Catherine, and who did I say? Samantha, Catherine, and Claire. Thank you. But it's just maybe muffled voices. It's pretty quiet. From the other ones, there could be something, but it's not loud enough to hear. So,
right. Well, I'll go up to Samantha, Catherine, and Claire's door and get a little knock.
Okay. You give a little knock, and after you hear just a second. And after that, you see the door open, and somebody comes to the door. And you see Actually, let me think. Are you just paying attention to the person in front? Or are you kind of glancing beyond into the room?
I'll glance beyond
Okay.
into the room.
Yeah, you glance beyond into the room, and you can see there's a woman sitting on one of the beds. It looks like she's half in. Oh, sorry, I should have mentioned this. Sorry, things slipped my mind. You understand?
Yeah.
Rick, Mark, and Jason were all in what looks like kind of a uniform.
Right.
Not like a terribly formal one, but kind of like you know what the Starfleet uniform looks like in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Kind of like that from the waist up. It's like the shirt has a color and there's like a not a badge actually. There's a ring that has like the ship's emblem on it.
Right.
And it's not like terribly formal. It's not like the skin tight thing. It's more like a polo, I'll call it.
Yeah.
And then the pants were they had like it looked like kind of like a khakis that also had the symbol on it.
Right.
The woman on the bed seems to be dressed in the uniform from the waist up. So she has the shirt on, but she's wearing like just like shorts. And the woman who's answered the door is like she looks like you can see she's kind of damp. She has like a towel wrapped around most of her, and she has her hair up.
Right.
And she just goes, "Oh, Newman, good to see you. I didn't know you were back."
Well, I'm not exactly back. I'm here for the first time. I don't understand it either. It makes no sense to me. But I'm going with it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, no problem. Vashim told us about this. And she starts to reach out her hand, and then she like puts it back on the towel as it starts to fall.
Yes. Keep that.
Yeah, and she just says, "Yeah, sorry about that. I'm Samantha. That's Claire behind me. We work in the sensors array. Good to see you, Captain. I know you're just meeting us for the first time, but I liked you before. I assume I'll like you again. I hope you feel the same way."
Oh, absolutely. I expect to like everyone I meet, and I truly hope that you like me back. So it'll be wonderful working with you.
Yeah, of course. Sorry I'm introducing Claire for herself. She's in a call right now. She can talk with you later, though.
Understand.
And you do see now she seems like she has her finger up to like, it looks like an earpiece.
Right.
You don't hear her saying anything, so either she's not talking or she's not quite sub-vocalizing, or she's just talking quietly.
Right, yeah. Well, it's wonderful to meet you, I guess, personally, and you to be returned to my acquaintance. Have a nice day. And then I'll kind of like give her a little acknowledgement.
You too, Ben. See you in the pub later.
See ya. I guess I'm going to the pub later.
Well, Vashim said that would be the last destination.
Oh, right, I forgot.
You don't have to, but he said like if you're going everywhere, that's the last place you're going to go.
To the pub. I don't want to go.
I don't want to go to the pub.
Pubs are where bad people go. They smoke and they drink and then they watch shows. I don't know.
Were you gonna say porn?
No.
Okay.
I don't
you
know.
were saying all these generically negative things. You like drink and smoke and watch, and I was like, we do not watch porn in a pub.
Don't watch.
To my knowledge, I don't know what pubs you're going to.
No, I was trying to think of like. I think I was trying to think of like
R-rated
strippers
movies.
or like cabaret shows, but the words didn't come to me.
Yeah, that's fair. I understand. What was I gonna say? Yeah, sorry. I guess so. Oh yeah, sorry. Next door. I guess if you're gonna go to any others.
Yeah, I want. Yeah, I'll go to the others. The other two that I haven't met the people in yet.
Okay. Which one first?
Henry.
Okay. You're gonna go to Henry. Okay. So you go to Henry, the door that just says Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go to the door. Sorry, that's what I'm saying.
Sorry. Yeah, no. I'll knock on it.
Okay. You knock on the door. You don't hear anything. You get any reply after a few seconds.
All right. Then I'll go to Ruby and Zinth and repeat the process.
Okay. So you knock on the door. You don't hear a reply, but after a few seconds, the door opens and you see a pretty muscular guy opens the door. He's not as tall as like Vashim, but he's a pretty tall guy. He's like 6'8". He's big.
Right.
He does look absolutely ripped. And you see he is fully in a crew uniform, and it's kind of like it doesn't quite fit him. It looks a little tight. It's kind of bulging. He has the polo unbuttoned all the way, and even then, it's like not a good fit.
This man is shredded.
Yeah, more or less. And he just says, Newman, I take it this is our first time meeting based on Vashim's little briefing.
You're the first one to realize that right away. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, it happens. Vashim's a pretty formal guy. I understand when people tune out during the briefings. I love the guy, but he sure can't talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he reaches out a hand. Actually, no, he doesn't reach out a hand. Sorry, he goes forward for a bro hug. You know what I mean?
Dude, I'll take it.
Yeah, he goes forward for a bro hug, and he does that, and then he steps back. He goes, "I'm Zinth. Good to see you. My role is head of security here. Normally I'd have a few people under me in security, but we're light on hands, and Vashim feels I can take care of it on my own. But Hopefully we'll get more people as we progress. But yeah, it's great to, I've met you before, but it's great to meet you again.
Right, absolutely. I appreciate your enthusiasm. I'm honestly really glad I would have you on board. This is very exciting.
Yeah, I'd love to. I want to say catch up. That's not quite the right word, but I got a parole I got to get to. So I'll see you at the pub later.
Yes, I'll see you there.
Yeah, he kind of. It looks like he grabs like a small firearm and holsters it to like a not a hip holster. He like an under shoulder holster, and he kind of not a jog, but a little half sprint towards the movement grid. He steps in there and types in some things and heads off.
I love him.
You like Zinth?
I like Zinth a lot. He's
right.
very strong.
That's true. He is very strong. He's quite big.
That's a good thing to have in your security head.
Yeah. So that was all the doors in this except for Rick, Mark, and Jason. But you assume they're at the mess hall.
Unless there's two of each of them, which would be interesting.
Oh, this is the other Rick.
It's the other Rick. We have two.
Yeah. No, that was Rick. This is Ricky.
That would be awful.
Yeah, no, but yeah.
All right, then I think I'll head down to the crew 2.
Okay. You head down to crew 2, and you can see this one has only 2 doors. And you can see that one of them is actually labeled Newman, and the other one is labeled Vashim.
Huh. So this is where we stay, I suppose.
Oh, you're talking to Vashim?
Yeah.
He goes, yes, Captain. Occasionally we must share quarters with others. Not that either of us really mind, of course, to my knowledge, but
of course not.
Hands become... Sorry, not hands. He didn't say hands. Space becomes a precious commodity when the ship is not in full functionality.
Of course.
Of course, usually we can have people take quarter... you actually did notice... sorry, I forgot to mention this. Actually, I didn't forget to mention it. I didn't say it because... it wasn't assured whether there was going to be names or not. It wasn't on like a written thing. It was on like a screen displayed, and you could actually see there was like a small timer underneath it. Looked like it was counting down. He says, Vashim would say this. That's my bad for not mentioning it. Sorry, but Vashim says, as usual, we have people usually use the quarters in shifts, but when everyone must rest, it becomes necessary to use all space at our disposal.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, you can go look at the quarters if you want, or you can just go to the next.
I'll take a look in.
Okay, you just looking at yours?
Yeah.
Okay, you look at yours, and you can see there's a pretty large, it's not pretty large, it's like what's the big size? Queen?
Yeah.
There's like a queen-size bed, in a little less of a standard shape. Is it still a queen if it's not a standard shape? I don't know.
I don't know how beds work.
Yeah, neither do I. It's one of those circular beds.
Right.
It's one of the circular beds. It's in the center of the back of the far wall,
right.
And you can see that this room appears to be on one of the. It is on the far edge of the ship, and you can see it's kind of a slant. You assume this is one of the edges of the ship, and you can see there are viewports on the roof in between sets of like reinforcement to make sure they're in place. And you can see there is like a bathroom to the far side. There are like some potted plants and pictures. There is what looks like an unfunctional food, either dispenser or I still cannot think of that Star Trek word. It's basically one of those.
Right.
It's not powered currently. It looks like it has like a red light flashing on it. Like, the Slurpee machine when a flavor's out of order? Like that kind of flashing. It says like, do not use when red light flashes.
I can go for a Slurpee right now.
And you... They're good.
Sorry, I know. We went to like a bunch of like convenience stores in Utah. No 7-Elevens though, because there was like one that we saw ever. But like they all had like knockoff Slurpees. And every time I was like, I want that, but
the ices.
Yeah.
I've been getting a Slurpee like almost every day because I finally got I got my monthly membership to the rock climbing gym. So every day when I'm done, I'm like, ooh, you know what I can go for? A cold drink. I love Slurpees too much.
They're great. Okay, so
yeah, sorry. And there's like some other things. There's like some carpeting and like there's like a comms terminal. There's like not a computer, but like it's like a terminal into the ship's like mainframe.
Right. Can I look at the pictures that you said were around?
Oh yeah, you can look at them. They actually appear to be paintings, not like photographs. Yeah. So one of them you can see is what looks like a landscaping of. It looks like a landscaping of. Let me look at your skills. I don't know if you'd be able to recognize this. You might. Give me actually, give me just an IQ.
Okay. I have that.
You do. I know. That's not a skill.
No, it's just a thing. That's
good.
fine,
That's a success by 1.
Yes.
2. What's your IQ? 2. It's success by 2.
Oh, yeah.
You do recognize this. You recognize this landscape. It's a painting. It's a bit abstract. Like it's realistic with like an abstract background. Think like is it Dali, the clock thing? It looks like a landscaping of Hellsholm actually, but you can see there are like there's like where the star. It's like a nighttime landscape where like the star and the moons are. It's kind of abstract up there.
Well,
That's one of the paintings. Another one appears to just be a portrait of you, more or less. It is a painting; it's not a photograph, and it's fairly nicely done. You appear to be a little older in this, not like a lot, but you can. You have a little. Your hair is like cut differently. You have a little more wear on you, but not like a lot older. Maybe like a year or 2.
Well, I have that to look forward to.
And potentially. And then I'm not saying you'll die. I'm just saying. I'm saying the painting's already there.
That's fair.
And the last one is a small. The last one's actually not a painting. Sorry, I lied to you a little bit. The last one is it's in a frame, like a glass frame. It looks like a letter of some sort. It's like an envelope. It's closed in there. And it looks like
Does it have an address on it?
It doesn't have an address on it. There's a wax seal on it. But let me see if there's an address. That's a good question. I didn't decide that. There is. It's not like spatial coordinates. It is an address, but you don't recognize it.
Okay. Do I recognize the seal? I don't know why.
That's possible. Do you have heraldry?
No.
Then give me a default for heraldry, which will be IQ -4.
Okay.
You could.
I could, but who knows?
You gotta make an 8. Yeah. No,
that's a
failure by 1.
Yeah.
No, it looks familiar, but you can't place it.
That's all right. Well, that's interesting, but I think I'll leave it alone for now.
All right.
Just to be safe.
I mean, filled with anthrax. Is that what people poison? No, what's the poison?
No, yeah, is
anthrax? Is it? No, that sounds wrong. Maybe it is. Never mind. The joke's lost. I started describing it. The joke's gone.
I'm pretty sure it's anthrax. I don't know.
I think so, but I'm not sure.
That
Anyway,
sounds right.
it sounds right. It might be a similar word. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, no. Like, if it's framed, I'm sure I had a reason to do that.
Okay. Yeah.
I trust myself.
Assuming you're the one who put it there, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a fair assumption.
Or someone else did it. It's not my business. Either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then I'll go back to Vashim and request to be taken to the the sub-armory.
Sub-armory, okay.
I don't know why anyone would be there other than my head of security, but who knows?
Yeah, okay. So you're heading to the sub-armory?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you head there. It opens up into a hallway. You can see that the door here is a little more reinforced. You're not entirely sure why, but you can take assumptions. Yeah, and then it's the same as before. There's the door open thing. This one's a little different. You can see there's also a large panel, which actually not a large panel, a large glass. I think it's still a panel if it's glass.
Yeah.
A glass panel, and you can see there's kind of like a hand crank. It looks like a manual door open.
Right.
And then there's the same communication kind of terminal next to the door.
All right. I'll just open it up.
And you open it up. You see into it. There's like it's a pretty small, not small room. It's like the size of this room. So it's like, I don't know what my room dimensions are, like 20 feet. Not squared, 20 by 20, maybe 20 by like 12.
Probably about
it's a smaller room. It is like the size of a personal room almost.
Right.
And you can see there is on the far wall from you. There's the rack of weapons. It's pretty sparse actually. It looks like it has a little. It has less guns than people you've met so far.
Right.
But they look, and there's a lot of ammunition, and there's a few grenades and things like that in crates near the bottom. And you can see on the far wall on the left of the room, there's actually another doorway.
Another doorway.
There's nobody in this room.
Oh.
And I mean, yeah, there's like some other there's like schematics and things on the wall,
right.
like physical blueprints and stuff, and there's like instructions like how to clear your gun, things like that.
Always useful.
So there's not much in the room.
Right. I'll go to the other door. And does this one have like an open button?
Yeah. As you step up to this door, you can actually hear gunfire behind it.
Oh, this must be like the firing range.
Yeah. So you want to open the door still?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you open the door and you can see you open it up and it is a firing range. You can see there's 3 different lanes and there's kind of targets at the end of it, and there's like some controls that are like, oh, move the targets, oh, reset the targets,
right.
Things like that. Yeah, and you can see there's one person standing there. There's a woman. She's smaller. She's like she's not terribly short, but she's like 5 foot. She's got red hair. And she's dressed not quite in. She's not quite in let me rephrase. She's dressed in the crew uniform, but there's like modifications. Like she's cut off the sleeves, so it's more of like a tank top, and it's a little, it's a little modified.
If this is Ruby, I'm gonna be mad at you.
She's wearing hearing protection. She's firing like a magnum. Yeah, what's up?
Ruby? I don't know yet. Don't tell me. I don't know yet. I haven't talked to her.
Okay.
Okay. I'll wait till she's done firing.
Okay, so she fires this clip of she fires like 6 bullets, and it looks like most of them hit. Actually, they all hit, but it looks like a few of them didn't hit where she wanted. And she's not upset. But she's a little bit like, oh damn. Yeah, and she turns around and looks like she's turning around to grab like another clip behind her, and as she turns, she's like she spots you and her eyes light up. She like pulls the hearing protection down, and she goes, "Oh, Newman, hey, yeah, we were told you were going to be back on, Ruby." Why is that upsetting?
Because she has red hair.
Oh, let me rephrase that. Sorry, not like dyed red hair. She's like ginger.
I know.
That's not even the same red. Okay,
Ruby red.
I don't. Okay, anyway, that wasn't meant to be a joke.
It's just really generic.
I guess. I don't know. Anyway,
I also know a Ruby with red hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I do not know a Ruby.
I know her because I've met her once. She was one of Gracie's friends.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, Ruby Sachs.
Sure. I definitely know who that is.
No, I've literally met her once in my life.
Okay.
I guess also like Emma and them knew her at some point.
Probably. But yeah.
That just means I'm gonna be calling her Red forever now.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You know, you sure can.
Okay. I mean, I also have red hair, but yeah. So I'll say, wonderful to meet you, Ruby. I guess meet is the right word in this scenario for me.
Yeah, that works.
So, what is it you do here?
Oh yeah, I run the weapons array on the bridge. Also, I mean, like on the side, I teach some basic gun safety and some shooting courses, but most of the people who need to shoot know how, and the rest aren't really that interested. I understand. Guns can be scary if you don't need them.
I agree with that. Well, it's very glad to be working with you. You seem quite chipper.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot's going on right now, and not a lot's better than negative, so can't complain.
I have to agree with you on that. Well, you seem to be quite busy and doing much better than I could ever do. But yes, go ahead and carry on. Don't let me get in your way.
Yeah, definitely. I can give you some courses sometimes if you're interested, but otherwise, see you at the pub later.
See you at the pub.
Okay. She kind of puts her thing back on, and she loads another clip, and she goes back to shooting.
All right. Well, I guess I'm done here.
All right.
I'll move on. Where shall I go next?
Where shall I go? Why did I turn to Sean Connery? Where shall I go next?
It was fully accidental.
It was.
I didn't mean to be.
No, I did it, not you.
No one means to be Sean Connery.
Are you sure?
Maybe Sean Connery does.
I can think of worse actors to be.
Oh yeah.
Actually, most actors would be worse actors to be.
He's pretty great.
He's got quite a good career.
It's true. I'd like to have his money.
I don't even want. I want his career. I don't care about his money.
Well, the money comes with the career.
I guess. Oh yeah. Sorry. Would you like to know next? If I can speak.
I think we'll go to the observatory next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go to the observatory. Yeah. So you hum a few things, and the movement goes up for a while. Obviously, it's faster than a regular elevator, but it still has a ways to go. It takes a little longer than any of your previous destinations, and it looks like this goes all the way to the top of the ship. In this, it doesn't move at all horizontally or back and forth. It just goes up. So you get to the top, and the door opens up directly into it this time. There's no hallway. And you can see there's a large, it looks like this spans actually almost, it looks like it would potentially span the entire length of the ship. But you can see there are kind of like large bulkheads, kind of like how they'd seal off an emergency section, kind of like, they look like they protruded from the wall and they're sealed in. So it's smaller than it would be, but it's still a pretty sizable room. High ceiling, long and wide.
Right. So is there any people in here or and also equipment and stuff?
Yeah, okay. So as you're up here, you can see it looks like it's more of a viewing station than an observatory from your initial glance. It looks like almost the entire area of this is the same as your room was with the glass and then the support beams. And yeah, it looks like it doesn't look like that. As I had to cough. It looks like it has overhangs that also look down, and they have glass. This is a large. maybe not glass, but a
Right.
transparent material. You're actually you are an engineer, aren't you?
I am, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. You probably know what it's made of, but I'm not going to go into it right now.
That's fine.
But yeah, so you see all that, and you do see two people. You see two people. One at one end, one at the other, and they're just kind of like looking out. You see a little bit of equipment. It looks like in the center of the room, kind of above where this the movement grid kind of comes out of the floor, and as you step out, it kind of sinks back in, and there's like a circular hatch there.
Right.
And then above that, you see kind of like a small spiral staircase that goes up to what looks like a what you'd pretty generically recognize as a astronomical telescope, kind of like what you see in a astronomy. I don't know what's the place. I had it in my head. You know what I mean? Yeah.
The big towers with the telescopes.
Yeah, the big towers with the telescopes. Thanks. That's very descriptive. You know what I mean? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go to one of the figures.
Okay. There's a guy and there's a girl.
They're
both on opposite sides, but not. I'm just saying they're not with each other right now.
I'll go to the guy.
Okay. You go to the. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I blanked for half a second on his name, and I was like, oh no. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is no name. He is on the ship. He does things.
He has no name. I was born with no name.
At age 3, I was born with no name.
But yeah. Okay. So you go over to him. He just appears to be looking out. He just his arms crossed. He's just gazing out. It looks like
Pensive and gazing.
Yeah.
I'll walk up next to him, put my arms behind my back, and say, space is quite beautiful when it's not trying to kill you.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, hi, Newman. Yeah. I can't remember the briefing. First time, second time?
First time, yes.
First time, yeah, of course. Henry.
Henry, nice to meet you.
Yeah, I run sensor arrays usually. We all take on one or two more things. I'm usually on sensor array. I'm on off time, off duty. Maybe should be sleeping, but we were all told you're going to be here soon, so I don't think anybody's really on their active rest cycle.
If it's your time, you can choose what to do with it. It's not up to me to decide.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I appreciate the offer. Rather meet you at the pub later though than take a little rest. But is there anything else I can do for you? Or?
Currently, I'm just making sure I meet everyone.
Yeah, of course.
But it's really incredible that we can be out here, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit far from home, but that's how it goes.
Yes, well, everyone must venture out from their home eventually, in one way or another.
Right there.
It was lovely meeting you again for the first time.
I understand, don't worry.
And I'll kind of nod to him and walk over to the other.
Okay, so you walk to the other side. It was far away. You couldn't quite tell, but you see this woman, and she also has some modifications to her uniform, not to the extent that the other one did when the sleeves were cut off. But you can see there's it looks like she's sewn on like a collar, and she has like a bunch of patches down one of the sleeves.
Right.
If that makes sense, yeah. I don't think you recognize any of the patches. Let me see. Actually, maybe. Give me just an IQ.
Okay. She's become both more formal and more punk.
Yeah, kind of.
That's amazing. No, I have no idea.
Actually, no, that is good enough. Really? That's only a failure by 3. Yeah, you recognize a lot of these as kind of like they look like one of them. You recognize as kind of like it's like a racing thing, kind of like the equivalent of the NASCAR logo,
right.
And the other ones look like sponsorship brands, like they're like brands on her sleeve.
That's so good.
Yeah, and she's as you come over, you see she's against the transparent material, and she has what looks like a whiteboard marker, and she's like frantically scribbling. You see like all these diagrams and things.
Yeah. Please tell me we have a space NASCAR driver on our crew.
Maybe.
Because that's so good. Also, I just remembered that the NASCAR jackets also have collars.
Anyway, but yeah. She doesn't notice your approach.
All right, I'll walk up. Can I, before I make my presence known, can I recognize, can I try, I want to know what she's diagramming.
Give me what do you have? Give me a spacer.
Okay. 13. Yes, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, you actually can. That's a success by 4.
Yeah,
that's good enough. Yeah. You recognize parts of it. The parts you can recognize, they look like almost fairly astrogation terms, but they've been modified. It looks like kind of the equation and the trajectory that would be necessary for a slingshot maneuver around a planet. And the rest you don't, and it's not quite the same as you're familiar with. It looks like a little modified, and the rest of it you don't recognize. There's a lot of it looks like scale representations of things and like an equation you don't quite know. But yeah, you recognize part of it.
All right. So what are we slingshotting?
And she's like, just a second, and she finishes the equation she's writing, and she turns and she goes, "Oh yeah, Newman. Didn't expect you so early. Clark.
Nice to meet you. Well, you already know my name."
Yeah, no, I understand.
So, Patches.
Yeah. Oh, just a second. I got it. She turns suddenly and she finishes the equation she was writing. She had an equal and she just had question mark, question mark, question mark, and she just kind of erases it and writes some more numbers in frantically. She goes, "Oh yeah. The patches, yeah. What? Sorry, what of them? Yeah.
I was just wondering where they came from."
Past experience, off time on leave duty. Racing stuff. You know the 0G Grand Prix?
Oh yes, of course.
Are you lying, or are you asking me if you know that?
Either I know it or I don't, but that's what I said.
Yeah, you've heard of it. You don't necessarily know what it is. You know what the word Grand Prix means.
I can assume.
Yeah, you've heard of it. It's not necessarily something you're familiar with. But she goes, I'm head astrogator and pilot.
Incredible. I'm just gonna write pilot.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, it seems you're quite good at what you do.
Oh, thanks. I'll be honest, this is a little less formal. Not really something for the ship. I was just trying to figure out if there was a way to increase a standard grav drive using the same system we use for a slingshot maneuver on a smaller scale. If we could use the... sorry, I'm boring you.
No, I'm actually quite interested in this.
I was just thinking if we can use the same kind of the grav tech we use to give ourselves gravity on the ship to do a slingshot maneuver. If we centralize the gravity on one point of a moving vehicle, we should be able to use the same thing to get an increase in velocity. I'm just trying to figure out how to... It's not cheating, but it would give me an advantage in the race.
Yeah, that makes sense, yes.
I almost got it. Just the little things I haven't quite figured out the kinks yet.
Yes. Well, don't go blowing yourself up anytime soon. We need to.
Don't plan on it, Captain.
Fantastic. Well, it was wonderful meeting you. I think I'll be seeing you at the pub if I hear everyone else correctly.
You got that right.
All right. Fantastic. Then I'll head back to Vashim and ask him to take me to the last place I haven't gone, which would be the comm hub.
The what?
The comm hub.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
sorry, you just said it fast, and I was like, huh? I was like, that doesn't sound like a place I said. I thought you said compub, and I'm like, what is a compub?
It's a compilation pub and something else.
Yeah, it sure is. Okay, yeah, so you go to the comm hub.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, the elevator goes down. The movement grid goes down, and slightly to the right, and then you open up to another. This one's not quite a hallway, but kind of a circular chamber. It looks like the walls are a little more reinforced. They're lined with something.
Right.
It's another metal. You can tell because it's a different color. And there's routing material and a different texture. And you can see kind of there's a what's it called? There's a door. What am I thinking? It's a little different of a door. It opens from top to bottom. And there's a light above it, a big red light, and it says locked when light active, kind of like you see in a dark room or something like that. It's currently off. And you can see there's a small sensor above the door.
All right, I'll walk up to the door.
Yeah, you walk up to the door, and as you approach it, it slides open from the bottom to the top.
All right. Then I'll step into the room.
Okay, you step into the room, and you can see there's kind of the inside of the room is lined with the same material, wall, ceiling, and outside wall. It looks like the wall wasn't actually lined with the outside. That's just what the wall was made of. And it seems to circle a donut around the semicircle that the elevator opened up into. Pretty much to scale. And you can see there's terminals lining most of the walls. A lot of wiring running up into the ceiling, kind of like how you'd see things going up into drywall, but the ceiling is metal. And you can see there is let me see. There is... Sorry, yeah, there we go. I just had to check how many people were in here. There's just one guy in here.
All right. Can I tell what he's doing? Is he actively?
It doesn't look like he's really doing anything.
He's kind of there.
He's kind of. It looks like he's periodically glancing over at a screen. Other than that, he's spinning around in an office chair and clicking a pen.
That's fair. I'll go up to him.
Okay, yeah, you go up to him and he's like spinning around and like.
I like wait till he spins and then just kind of like grab his chair and stop it.
Okay, never mind then. Something else was gonna happen, but that works too. That works too. Yeah, you do that, and and he kind of just goes like, oh, good. He goes, oh, Newman, yeah, no, I'm just, it's compiling, yeah.
Slow day.
Yeah, there's nothing going on.
Yeah, that's all right.
Situation. Yeah, I definitely was at the briefing. Yeah, no, what's happening? Sorry.
First time here.
First time. Yeah. Of course. Oh, right. Zach.
Nice to meet you, Zach.
Zach, yeah, I'm head comm technician and head of communications. There's just not a lot to pick up out here. You know, just passively scanning for like distress signals or I don't know anything. If I can pick up like a loose radio signal or something to listen to.
All right.
But otherwise, yeah, just you know, nothing. There's nothing going on.
Well, hopefully we'll find something to do soon.
Oh, there will be.
I'm sure.
Pub, yeah.
That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah, for a reason.
I'm very excited.
All right.
Yeah, I guess that's all there is to do here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll head back to Vashim and like, well, I think that's everywhere.
Yes, no, certainly, Captain. Allow me to take you to your quarters briefly once more before we head to the pub, both to give your crew a bit of time to assemble and for a bit of something else.
Of course.
Okay, so you follow him, and I mean you don't you allow him.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go down to your quarters, and as you open the door, Vashim waits outside. Kind of, it looks like actually he goes into his quarters but he waits to see if you go in, and then you can hear his door open, and he heads into his quarters. You see there is a kind of, it looks like a box on your room, kind of like it's wrapped and tied with a bow.
Oh,
okay,
that's adorable. I'll open it.
Okay, you open it. And you can see there is what looks like another crew uniform. It looks like it's sized to you, as well as you see there's a communicator ring. There is a small firearm. It looks more, it's more ornate than it looks like. It looks like it probably fires, but that's not its main purpose. Then you see there is, at the very bottom, there is a paper folded hat.
Aww.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's amazing.
And it looks a little bit weird. It's made of like a holographic material. It's not quite actually. It's paper, but it's kind of like it's got like a pattern on it.
Right.
It's almost like it's not. I don't want to say tie dye. You know what the Back to the Future hat looks like, kind of. It's more like that. It's tie dye esque.
That's amazing. I'm gonna put it all on.
Okay, yeah. So
making sure my hat is at a very jaunty angle.
Yeah. Okay. So you do all of that.
Yeah.
And then after a moment, but you hear a knock on your door.
I'll go and open it.
Yeah, you open it to Vashim, and he basically asks like if you're ready.
How's my hat look?
Excellent, Captain.
Fantastic. I'm absolutely ready.
All right, and then he kind of takes you into the movement grid. I'm not stupid. Into the movement grid, and you head up to the pub. It opens into a This hallway's a little bit different. This hallway actually looks like it looks like it's a bridge between segments of the ship. Both the walls and the ceiling. No, not the ceiling. Sorry, just the walls have open windows on them. And it looks like there's actually, you're not sure the purpose, but it looks like there's like a drain in the middle of this floor, kind of how like you'd see in like a shower or like a public bathroom. Yeah. And then there's another door on the far end. It looks like this one looks more like a how do I say this? It's kind of like a revolving door. It's not glass though. It looks like it's made of kind of like like a fine like finished wood.
Right.
And the far wall is also kind of like a wood.
The classier.
And you see above the door, kind of like engraved in a metal plate on the wood. You see the thing AH.
AH.
But not spelled just like the letters.
How's it spelled?
Do you want to know?
I do want to know.
Okay, so it's spelled AY-AYCH. You don't know the meaning of that.
No, I don't.
You don't like it?
It's just weird.
Yeah?
Okay.
The font is also a little odd to you, but
Oh,
it's sans serif. No,
is it
no.
Comic Sans?
no,
Okay.
it's Wingdings. No, you learn to read it.
That's my other language.
You photograph from memory wouldn't be that hard.
It's true.
But yeah, no.
We just have to write it all at once. All right. Before I walk, I'm gonna look up and see if there's any like. Because there's a drain, so I want to check the ceiling to see if there's any like, nozzles or like holes that looks like liquid could come out of.
Not that you see.
Okay. You just never know. Then I'll head towards the friendly revolving door.
Okay, so you head in. You head in, and as you step through, Vashim kind of gestures forward. And it looks like he takes like a I don't know, a pensive stance. It looks like he's going to remain here for whatever reason.
Right.
At least he's waiting until you go through. And you go through the revolving door, and as you step through, you hear like a small like click, kind of like either the door's shut or it's locked behind you.
Right.
And you step forward into a completely dark room, like it's almost pitch black. And after a moment, you hear kind of a music start to play. You hear slow, almost like a jazzy kind of waltz kind of music. And you actually recognize this tune. You recognize this tune as an old Earth melody, that something that you would have heard back on Helholm. It's actually not in common, so you're not quite sure what it means unless you would have studied it. It's in English, actually, not common. Very old Earth language that is not spoken anymore. And this is something that your mother probably would have sung to you, or something like that, kind of like a lullaby.
Right.
And you hear a familiar-ish voice start singing. Briefly thereafter, you see a spotlight come up on the stage. But you hear, "We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day." And just kind of continues on, and you see kind of like slowly, kind of like almost like runway lights. You see the outline of the stage appear before you as these lights appear from like the stage kind of out to a catwalk kind of centralized point. And shortly thereafter, you see in the glow of these red lights, you can see kind of tables set out about, and you see all the crew members you previously met, and a few you haven't yet, sitting at these tables and all kind of looking in your direction. And after a moment, a spotlight comes up pointed at you. And you see kind of more, and after another second, kind of you see flashing floor panels appear on the thing. And as they flash on and off, and kind of in time with the music, you see a single figure kind of waltzing around the stage on their own, as they sing and swing in time to the music. And the panels come on and off, and they're in a different kind of position, different motion every time you see them. They seem to be making their way towards the head of the towards the kind of centralized circle part of the catwalk. And they after they get to the end, the light goes off more or less. The music continues. You hear the singing continue, and the spotlight kind of starts to move forward.
Right,
do you keep with the track?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll play along.
Okay. Yeah. So you follow along. You follow along, and as the catwalk reaches, as the light reaches catwalk. Why did I say catwalk?
I don't know.
As the light reaches the edge of the stage, you see it kind of follows along up the stairs, and you're actually heading up onto the stage itself. And as you step up, it kind of leads down towards the center, and as you reach halfway up that is the word I wanted, the catwalk towards the central. That's why I said catwalk, towards the circular area in the middle. All the floor lighting panels light up on the thing in kind of in a low kind of white, very pale blue color, almost like moonlight. And you see a figure laid out before you. You see a figure, kind of a slim figure with kind of a clean cut hair, green eyes. There's something a little bit off about them, but you can't quite place it. And they're dressed in like almost like a white tuxedo with a red bow tie. You have to wear a bow tie with a tuxedo. I forgot. Yeah. Red bow tie, and you see like silver cufflinks and things like that. And they kind of like outstretch their hand to you, kind of like in you recognize the motion.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll accept.
Yeah. So you kind of reach your hand out. And it feels a little bit odd when you feel kind of like a tingly sensation, almost like when you get static electricity. Right. And like they kind of start leading you in this almost waltz as they continue to sing. And slowly as this continues, you hear the rest of the room kind of fill with this song kind of droning on. Maybe you join them, maybe you don't. You know the words, right. But you hear it's slowly after a while the whole cafeteria, the whole pub is singing along. You hear like drinks clinking together, things like that. And as it comes to an end, you're once again at the end of the catwalk, and suddenly all the lights come up, and you see streamers and everything like that. The room is decorated. There's like a disco ball up at the top, and you see a big banner against the far wall that you can see from where you are now standing, and it says "Happy Birthday, Newman."
Happy birthday! Is it my birthday?
Do you want to look at today's date?
Yeah.
It actually is. You'd completely forgotten.
Oh my goodness! I can't believe it.
And under that it says "Welcome back."
You're all incredible. Wow, I'm more or less speechless, which is fairly rare for me, as I'm sure you already know. I say I'm speechless as I'm going on. I'm sorry. You are all incredible. Thank you so much for this.
But yeah, you see the figure who's in the tuxedo now turns to you and goes, "Good to see you, Captain."
Do I recognize this person?
You recognize their voice.
Do I?
You do.
Where do I recognize it from?
Sounds like Sam.
Whoa! It does. Wait, Sam?
Is that in character?
Yeah, but in a British accent.
Yeah, I was gonna say there wasn't an accent. You've got that right, Captain. I was able to integrate with the ship's AI program, and we have hard light projections in some area of the ship. A little bit more than a hologram, not quite enough to do anything substantial, but
that's fantastic.
For more or less purposes, I've got a figure sometimes.
That's incredible. I'm so happy. You're a person now. Well, you have a physical existence now for
I understand,
some
Captain.
extent. Oh.
But yeah, like everyone who's at the bar is like, yeah, come down, have a drink, like all that kind of stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll join them.
Yeah, so you join them. After a moment, Vashim comes in, and it looks like he's carrying like a large box. Like it looks like there was an attempt to like put a ribbon around it, but it looks more or less like a large like metal crate.
Right. You didn't. You shouldn't have. Absolutely not. You're too kind, all of you. But
yeah, no. So after yeah, what do you do? I guess.
I
guess you're hanging out with everyone for a little while. Huh?
I'll just hang out, get to know people.
It looks like Sam is remaining sitting on the edge of the stage. It looks like you see him kind of reaching his hand out a little bit and like looking at it as it reaches past the edge of the stage too much, it kind of like shimmers away into like just kind of fades out.
Right.
And you assume that's like the end of where the projectors are. But he's having a good time. He's watching. He's just kind of like swinging his legs.
Oh, that's so cute. I love him. My buddy has a buddy.
All right, but yeah, there's that large crate.
There sure is. Yeah, I guess I'll go and investigate that because I'm curious. I can't avoid it, even if I wanted to.
All right, yeah. So you want to go open that up?
I guess.
So it looks like on the outside of it, it's actually got like a small kind of like not a slide puzzle. You know the ones where there's a lock that's kind of like it's got like the maze with like the chain thing. It's got one of those. You want to roll like unless you have like a puzzle skill, you want to roll like an IQ for me, just get that open.
Yeah, I'll do that. If I fail this,
you can just try again.
I know, but I'll be embarrassed.
You didn't fail it. You got it right on.
Perfect.
That was close, actually. Like you get halfway through and you're just for a moment. You're like, you're like. You hear it get quiet for a second, then you keep going, and the merriment continues. And after a while, you get it open. And as you swing open the lid, I guess.
Yeah, I'll do that.
You swing open the lid, and you see what looks like a large puzzle box.
Oh.
Along with what looks like another letter next to it.
Oh no, it's Hellraiser.
What? I don't know what that reference is. I'm sorry.
It's the movie.
I know what the movie. I know the name Hellraiser. I just don't know anything about it.
Well, yeah, essentially.
Why did you sound embarrassed about that?
Because they're bad movies. I think.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never seen them. I've just took a day and was watched a bunch of. Yeah, that's how that's how Pinhead is summoned.
Oh, is that the one with Pinhead?
I believe.
Okay. Anyway. But yeah.
You solve the puzzle box and then the demons are summoned and then
I don't think I want to solve the puzzle box.
You don't. Well, usually people solve it because they're already sadomasochistic.
Oh, okay, I see.
And they want the demons.
The demons, yeah, you want the
and
gotta have the demons.
Yeah. And then sometimes they become demons.
Don't you want your demons at the party?
Yeah.
Don't you want them to join in the festivities?
But sometimes they don't know about it.
We can stop talking about Hellraiser.
I watched synopses of all the plots of all of them, so I know more than I want to. Apparently they're not great, but that's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'll read the letter.
Okay, actually, as you open the letter and you start to read it, suddenly you hear like a loud kind of like a it sounds like an electrical, like a zapping kind of sound, and like some light clanging, and suddenly all the lights like they flicker for a second and they all go off, and it's completely pitch black, and you hear a lot of people like what the hey, what's going on, like whoa, it's like some crashing with people tripping or like dropping drinks, that kind of thing. And after a moment, you hear what sounds like curtains ruffling. The only place you've seen curtains is at the back of the stage, kind of. It looks like there might have been a backstage area.
Right.
You didn't go back there. You can actually see a light glow from it. It looks like Sam's projection gives off a bit of light, but just enough to see like the outline of him.
Right.
And after a moment, you hear like a kind of another zapping, and the lights don't come back on, but you see a single spotlight appear towards the back of the stage, and you see a really strange figure. You see what looks like they're a completely white, featureless figure. They're not wearing any clothes except for what looks like almost like a ski mask, but without the openings, just a black kind of ski mask over their face. And they're completely nude, but they have no features. They're completely I don't know what the word for that is. They're completely there was a word for it I don't remember. Completely androgynous, completely nothing. And there's literally not pale, literally white. And you see kind of where the mouth would be on the ski mask. You kind of see like it looks darker, kind of like with liquid, and you see kind of like a red substance oozing from there. And you also see the red substance kind of like, it looks like their hands are just coated in it and continually dripping. The substance seems to disappear before it hits the floor, just kind of, you're not sure why.
Right.
And they have their feet seem a bit odd. Their fingers ended more like talons than fingers, and their feet are just seem like a solid piece, not with toes, kind of like what a foot looks like with a sock, like a rough approximation of what a humanoid is.
Right.
And they slowly turn up to you, and you hear a voice kind of very quiet and whispery, but also echoing through the whole room like they're using the speaker system or something. You just hear a voice go, "Have you known fear, Newman?" And that's where we're going to end it today. We would have gone farther, but we did start an hour late.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's actually a decent stopping point, too.
That's a good cliffhanger.
Today's session was more interactions than anything else, but
that's all right. I like meeting people when they're not real people because I'm scared of real people.
That's fair. Oh yeah, how'd you like today's session? I guess
that was good. I'm excited. I'm excited to have a crew.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that Sam can have a body sometimes.
Yeah.
If there isn't the projectors in the like bridge, I'm gonna have them installed there.
That's fair.
Because I want my friend.
There's definitely at least a hollow projector, but there likely isn't a hard light projector. Those take a lot more energy and a lot more expensive. There's probably only one or two of those on the ship.
That makes sense. Either way, I want my buddy on the deck.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, I'm thinking. I think that's about it then.
This man is scared. So for some reason, like even though Ian would be absolutely terrified.
You're just like my party. Oh, come on.
Newman is definitely more like intrigued than scared.
Do you use xenophilia, or do you just act like it? I just act like it. That's fair. I was just curious. Yeah, so you don't have to be interested. You just usually are. That's fair.
Yeah. I thought about it, and then I was like, no, he's just a very friendly guy.
Yeah. So there was a few chinks there with me forgetting who was where in the ship. But yeah,
it's all right.
There were a few people in the pub who you hadn't met previously. They probably introduced themselves to you, but I'll wait till next time for that. But you met the rest of the crew more or less. There wasn't a lot more people.
Yeah. Ooh, it's exciting. I'm excited to fix the ship.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I like projects like that, especially in like any sort of game.
Okay.
Like I love things that are like, all right, you have a ship.
Complete the puzzle to unlock more. Complete the next puzzle.
Exactly, like a base, and then like as you progress through the game, you open up more, you repair things, you make things better. I just love stuff like that. I'm a sucker for it in anything. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. And wow, that's exciting. Yeah,
that was a pretty decent session today. Actually, I'm kind of glad you were late because I had passed that, but that is where I wanted to stop. I just wasn't sure how long the crew introductions would take.
Right.
So that actually worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
I had passed there, obviously.
Of course. But
that works out pretty nicely.
Absolutely.
I was actually going to go a few sentences past that, but I figured this works as a better cliffhanger.
Have you known fear? I'm sure I have, but not
right now. I'm sure I have. That's your answer. You're just like, yeah, probably. No.
Honestly, I was about to be like,
yeah, I think so.
I think I have, but I could be wrong.
Oh boy.
Newman is just kind of
I do like Newman.
He's a very friendly man, but he's kind of dumb when it comes to like social situations where he should be worried.
That's fair.
Like he just doesn't. It's like he doesn't understand that he can die. Like he's aware of it. He's aware of the fact that his arm literally got ripped off, but he's not like, oh no, I have to avoid that person now because they literally ripped my arm off. He's like, oh yeah, we can still be friends. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
he's just like
it happens.
He just needs personal improvement. Get some therapy. He'll be fine.
Get some therapy. I like that.
He's just angry.
Yeah, no, that's fair. All right, that was a pretty good episode. Next, we looking good for next week?
Yeah, we should be.
Okay. Yeah, so we should be looking good for next week as usual. And as I said at the beginning, if we don't get the thing, if we think there's gonna be a problem, I will do what I did this week, which was put the episode postponed as the live stream, so you can see that on the thing.
Yeah.
I will post on all of our social media as well as put it in the discussion tab of our YouTube channel. But yeah, so we should be good for next week. But things come up sometimes. It's unavoidable.
Life.
Yeah. But other than that, thank you for joining us. This was Roll Out of Bed in our campaign Brave New World. As always, I was your Game Master Nev.
And I was your player Ian.
And we will see you next time. That's the wrong computer. We will see you next time. Thank you for joining us. And if you have somebody who you think would like this, please send them our way. We love all the audience we can get.
Like, share, follow.
And if you're, as I said, if you're a Stitcher only follower, even if you plan to only listen on Stitcher, if you could give us a subscribe on YouTube, it would help us grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. See you next time.